Good morning, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. Make sure you artists that are just going to listen to this to pull up the screen real quick and look at it. We got some ugliness in these topics. Come on, take that moment, and make sure you tag me on Twitter with what you were drawing during this when you're done. Today, I'm building the Kotobukiya Dark Magician Girl. You can pick her up via the link in the pinned comment. See, while I'm not a Yu-Gi-Oh fan, today's target is. See, Conundrum, or as he goes by on Discord, Cobra Commander, has had a history of problematic behavior, like defending groomers and actively blaming their victims for things, as you'll hear in the call. How did I get involved, though? Well, I've been helping Susie Doodletones for a few months now to try and weed out the various scumbags in her community. The latest being Sean Sampson, Supersonic Ward, and Kyokun. All their actions having been called out in Susie's latest videos, but the TLDR is that they were all fine with enabling kids to be around a known predator. This culminated in them doing a wound-licking stream that Susie also responded to. Girl needs some rest. On this stream is where Conundrum decided to show up and say the dumbest of things ever. The call I'm playing here is held between Conundrum, Susie, and Ellie. I'm not in it though. Why? Because this 40-year-old, yes, he's 40, is scared of me. So, sit back and enjoy the call.
Sorry about that. My bad. I was in the bathroom.
Happens. So before we get anything started,
First, I'm gonna ask Susie something. Susie, how are you doing after surgery?
I'm doing fine.
Yeah. My aunt had her gallbladder removed, and I know I had to deal with that with my aunt for a while.
Okay. Well, before we get started,
Yeah.
I want to establish some ground rules. We're gonna practice call etiquette. Do you know what I mean when I say call etiquette?
Let one person talk.
Mm-hmm. So when you speak, we will listen to you,
All right.
and then when we speak, you will listen to us. So when Susie speaks, she speaks. And then when she's done, you answer. If you two happen to run into each other in the conversation, just say "excuse me," let the other person finish and whatnot. We're all grown. We all know how to conduct ourselves, but I will say as well, we are not going to not get heated unless we are finding out that you are being dishonest. And we have some very important things to discuss with you. Susie is the Miss Note Taker because that is what Susie does. So I'm going to let her lead, and if I have anything to add, I will. But Susie's got much more detailed concerns than I do, so I'm going to let Susie start us off here. Whenever you're ready.
So I went through your entire stream, with you, Kyo, Sean, and Ward, and I will be bringing my issues up with what they said to them individually because they are so wanting to talk about this. I will let them. But I wanted to start with you because I know Ellie wanted to be here for this, and on top of that, you were the person who was involved the least in all of this. So, I guess to start, why did you really get involved?
I was just pissed off on how Lio handled Sean. I viewed, from my experience, that's bullying and badgering somebody.
I don't necessarily agree with that. Because, Sean was friends with Dan and only disassociated with him when Sean's reputation was affected. Or potentially affected. Did you listen to those calls, intently?
Yes, I listened to them intently. I've been listening to them for quite a while because I was observing something, and thing is, I know something about Dan Stein, that he's a doxer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that doesn't change anything. You still shouldn't keep a predator around, especially not getting in contact with minors, or furthermore, they're victims.
I agree wholeheartedly on that one.
Which Sean did both.
Yeah, Sean did. Let me put something into perspective for you. So we're gonna go back to the cloak and dagger thing. I'm not necessarily comparing anyone to anything, but I am bringing up a scenario for you. Okay. So Vigelcio was still friends with V Omega long after he was dissociated from the community. Okay. You know this. I know this. We all know this. And the big problem that we had was not just that he was friends with V, but that he was silencing other minors. One of those people being V Omega's victims. Now, the people that, again, like the people he was silencing were minors. They were children. Okay? He's already manipulating these children to be quiet, to not say anything, to not talk to an adult who can get them out of the situation. He's already good at convincing these kids to not go to an authority figure or go to their parents or go to anybody. He's already convinced them of this. In a very bad scenario, in a worst case scenario, what if Vigelcio convinced these minors that V Omega was actually in the right, or that he was wronged in some way, shape, or form? Now, you and I, we're adults. We understand that what V Omega did was wrong. But these kids are very easily manipulated because the fact that they're children. They don't understand. They don't understand the complexities of what V did to like the most intimate ways that we do as adults. We understand why what he did was awful, what it could do to these people, what it could do to these children. He is a predator. But these children are impressionable. They are, and I don't necessarily want to say they're easily manipulated. That was a bad wording. But like, you understand, we are practicing call etiquette. I am not finished.
Sorry, I want to bring up a point.
You can bring up a point after I'm done.
Sure.
I'm giving you the respect. You will give me respect. What I'm saying is Sean being friends with Dan, who is a groomer, who sends child pornography around, and who you just said is a doxer. Sean was not really that concerned with that type of thing if he was still willing to be friends with him after the fact. He was not. He relayed this information to then Sonic Ward, who also did nothing. The idea that the only time that Sean distanced himself from Dan was when his own reputation was at stake, with the reputation which the lies that Dan was going to be spreading about Sean, or that he could potentially spread about Sean, are so minuscule in comparison to the literal children who were affected by Dan. It's not only shameful, it is selfish, it is irresponsible. There are so many words I could go into explaining this. And that is one of the biggest problems we have with Sean in particular. Sonic Ward's a whole different situation. But with Sean in particular, Lio was more than gracious. Lio was more than cordial, until the prospect of Sean still keeping in contact with Dan Stein, up until the victim of Dan Stein confronted Sean. He was still friends with him until he was confronted. And as soon as Dan was shown to be a groomer, immediately it should have been dissociating from him, but he did not. That was when Lio got mean. That was when Lio got upset, because it's irresponsible. It is. I don't know if callous is the right word for it, but it is shameful. And we just dealt with people like Tippy and
Vigil.
Tippy and Vigil, and Tippy's reluctance to hide everything and to lie about everything. even to this day, she's going around telling people a completely different story than what actually happened. So we have a zero tolerance policy for that kind of behavior. When someone is made to be a groomer, there is, when a child is harmed, when a child has been preyed upon, the predator, no second chances. That person is a danger, and the people who continuously surround with that person, while they are not explicitly responsible for that child being predated on, they are in some way, shape, and form no better than the person that groomed the child, because they are complicit. They are willing to surround themselves with people who are dangerous. That is what Lio had a problem with. That is what the SCC has a problem with. And the fact that these people that were on that stream are trying to pass this off as a nuanced situation and a gray area. A child was groomed. A child was predated on. And of course, predators don't just have one victim. I just know of one victim.
Furthermore, Sean, well, actually, before I get to that point, you said you had something, so I'm gonna let you speak first before I get into the next point.
I understand what you're talking about, because what Sean did is let the fox in the hen house, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Sean told me a whole different story what was going on, that you were blackballing him.
No,
What do you mean?
I'm familiar with Sean's side of the story. We've heard it by this point. I've seen his Twitter threads. I think his community posts. I know what you're alluding to. You know, it's the idea of, Sean didn't want to distance himself from Dan on account of Dan potentially spreading harmful allegations about Sean. And here's the thing, right? I get it. But also, we had to deal with that with V. We had to deal with that with Ray. By the way, two people that Sean, compares Halo fan and Dan to, I'm gonna have a whole discussion with Sean about that, in particular, because that's, not a fan of that. But, it's like, if he's going to compare Dan and Halo to V and Ray, you want to know what we did with V and Ray? We cut them out of our lives once we found out what kind of actions that they do. The fact that V was attempting to fucking rape Coda. The fact that V was preying on Joni and several others. When we found out that Ray was into Lolicon, and when Ray was also attempting to rape another commentator, all of the stuff that Ray did, Ray attempted to groom people. We know we now know what Ray was doing behind the scenes, and a lot of us, in fact, a lot of people who were under her thumb, who were actually manipulated by Ray, got out of there and told their stories, as recently as October last year. So, Sean knows what kind of actions to do in that situation. He should have known all the way back in 2020 when we all initially cut out V Omega from our lives. But he didn't. By his own words, he put a minor back in contact with Dan. In one of his Twitter threads, his exact words were, "Not to mention, I at least didn't actively put Dan around any minors. And when I did, I only did it once, and I instantly regretted it and apologized to that person for doing that. Every other time, I'd ask people if they are ready to forgive him yet and let them come to their own conclusions." So even if you wanted to say, the one time he put a minor around Dan, he regretted it or it was a mistake, one, pretty big mistake to make, and two, he was willing to let Dan into these spaces with other people under the the pretense that they were okay with Dan to begin with. He was so willing to let a predator around their victims by Sean's own admission. And this predates that live stream of yours, by the way. Or not yours, but Kyo's specifically.
Yeah. And believe me, I agree wholeheartedly. But one incident of predation by Dan, Sean should have cut him off immediately. It's how I did with Paradox. The minute I found out stuff, I cut him out of my life, and I've been doing a lot better ever since.
Who, Sean or Dan?
Sean. Sean should have cut Dan out of his life. Point blank.
Yeah.
Cut him out like a tumor.
Yeah, and, but instead, Sean, like, pins all the blame of getting back into contact with Dan on this anonymous friend, which, again, something else I'm gonna have to ask Sean about, but, I don't want to play my cards too much right now. So, now that I've gotten that out of the way, I want to specifically address some of the stuff that you said on that stream.
Right?
Because as I said, I have about a 12-page document of notes. I've got a lot to talk about.
Perfectly fine.
Okay. So I know Sean had already corrected this on the stream, but I do want to address it regardless. When Sean brought up the possibility that HaloFan is going to use this situation as leverage to then harass Sean, you immediately jumped to saying that the SCC is hiding a sexual predator themselves.
Because HaloFan did a lot of sexual stuff.
I know. Definitely. I'm the person that HaloFan tried to give child porn to in the comments of my video on him. If anyone knows that HaloFan is a fucking sicko, it's me. But you want to know that? You do know that HaloFan has been ostracized from the community like years ago. No one associates with him. No one adds him to the groups or chats. We all know he's a fucking pedophile, and we have put that information out there a few times now.
So how are we hiding a predator?
Number one, I've been out of this community for quite a while. I did not know that you handled HaloFan.
Okay, so here's
what
I have a problem.
Why would you speak on it like that? So matter-of-factly.
Yeah, was what I was going to say.
Because the last thing I heard was HaloFan sending nudes to people and stuff. I'm like, and when Sean brought up HaloFan, that whole thing I remember the stuff HaloFan did, and I'm like, did they ever get rid of HaloFan?
But again,
but you didn't ask that question. You asserted that we were hiding and harboring a predator knowingly.
That is an incredibly harmful accusation that if you don't have evidence for, that accusation should not come out of your mouth. You want to talk about false accusations and how damning that can be to people. What are you doing?
I can see that, and I see that whole aspect I did, and I concede on it. Like I said, I wasn't aware of the community getting rid of HaloFan.
No.
Furthermore, if you haven't been around the community for as long as you haven't been, what's like? You make a lot of assumptions about the SCC. What was it? You had said the SCC has become 1984. You said that the Alt-CC was right about the SCC. You said that fucking Carmen Ryder was right. We're gonna talk about that, by the way.
Yeah, we have a few things to talk about with Carmen Ryder.
Yeah, so you make a lot of assertions about the SCC and how its detractors were right about us from the beginning. But you haven't been around this community enough to say that. You don't know what this community is doing. You are not in its spaces. The most that I know you were around was in Blaze's fucking Waffle House server, but that is not a good, that is not a good sample size.
But I also know what it feels like, because most of the former SCC members knew me. I was in the alt, so I get the usual comment, don't listen to him, he's alt CC. Stop.
No. Stop
Not
right there.
Not a single person has said that, though.
I'm going to tell you why people don't tend to believe you when you say things, Conundrum, is because you sometimes, and you have talked, and we had just talked about this, you talk out of your ass. You knew nothing about what happened with Halo Fan, but you wanted to make accusations that we're harboring a predator. You want to, you said in our DMs that you acted on emotion, irrationally acted on emotion in that stream. And that there were probably some things that you completely don't stand by when we had that conversation, which was the day that stream happened. So why would anyone actually listen to you when you cannot even, you can't, in the moment, do things in a calm, collected, and informed manner? It has absolutely nothing to do with the SCC and how you were in the alt CC. This is so much further than CC shit. I can't even see straight. This is so far beyond that. It's principle. People don't listen to people when they are irrational, when things come to a head, when they crack under the pressure, when they crack under stress. Stress that you didn't have to be a part of. You butted your nose into something that had nothing to do with you. Of course people aren't going to take you seriously, Patrick. You don't go into things with a cool head. You don't go into things informed. You don't go into things knowing jack or shit. So don't sit there and say that it's all about the alt CC and all this nonsense, because you have no idea what people say, what people actually say is why they don't listen to you. And I know you don't have the evidence to prove that. I know you don't. Because no one has ever said that before.
Yeah, no, it's like, especially when it comes to, like, what was it? Where is it in particular in my notes? You had said that, like, you had brought up the fact that people still call you alt-CC. Hey, as someone who was the main target of the alt-CC, I don't give a fuck. I don't care that you were alt-CC at one point. Because even those who started the alt-CC, I'm friends with its co-founder. I got back into contact with Nicole after so many years ago. And I actually got a chance to sit down and talk with them about my perspective on the alt as its main target. And as again, because we might as well bring this up. You saying that the alt CC was right about the community? No, they weren't. They never were. Because the ideas that the alt-CC were spewing were very against a 19-year-old who blew up too fucking quickly. A lot of it was just, hey, Doodle Tone's bad, critique her more, which people do. People have been. I have been the internet's punching bag since 2016, off and on, and I continue to deal with Medicare fan. Literally, just last month, people were sparking up those wonderful predator allegations about me from the Medicare stuff. You know, people were looking at me as like this, you know, this ABDL, and because I'm ABDL allegedly, that must mean that I'm a predator, which is stupid because. What is the first word in ABDL?
Adult. Believe me, I know
exactly.
because my friend Emmy is ABDL, and I'm helping them out a lot.
Yeah,
Great.
The point Yet the point is, I'm still dealing with harassment on a day-to-day basis. But the alt-CC had acted the entire time throughout 2017 and 2018 like I was just some untouchable god. When that's so far from the truth. Like, it is on the other side of the world from the truth.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Well, then why would you say that the alt-CC was right about the SCC within that stream? If you agree wholeheartedly that I was treated poorly, that I was treated unfairly, why would you sit there and say that the group whose entire MO was trying to poke and prod at the SCC until it fell apart was right? Also, before I forget, you saying something like that so matter-of-factly, so publicly, yeah, even if there were people who were still considering you alt-CC, that right there doesn't do you any favors, bud.
I agree. I think
then
the one
why
thing
would
that
you say it?
I said it out of the frustration and anger because because I felt like I'm being dragged into stuff, and with all this people bringing up people's past and stuff, it gets me. I'm basically scared of what to say in the SCC and not be labeled a predator.
You were not dragged into shit, Patrick. You butted your ass into something that had nothing to do with you. Don't give me that. Do not sit there and lie to me. Do not lie. That is, you were lying.
Not
no
lying.
one. Your name was never.
No.
Your name was never uttered.
Hold on, guys,
your name was never uttered.
Okay. I think I know where this is about to go. But I'll let him say it anyway. Go on, Conundrum.
Like, I'm afraid of stuff like, all you do is say one thing wrong and basically, oh, you're going to get a Google document pinning you as a predator, because I've seen this stuff before in the gaming community.
Are we the gaming
community? Yeah, the gaming community isn't the SCC. In fact, I can point you directly to an example of someone who has said multiple things wrong that we still keep around in this community. Actually, I can point you to a few examples of people who do so. Space Guru 5 is an example of that, which will wonderfully segue me into the next talking point that I want to talk to you about. So Guru back in the day, made like a really bad take on PTSD, basically saying that, you know, those who have PTSD, you know, do need to, you know, take the steps to get over it. It was a lot more crass. I don't remember the exact wording, but it got him into a lot of trouble. In fact, I distinctly remember that Ray wanted Guru to be chucked out of the Cloud Palace because of that take. But I sat him down, talked with him, he understood, and, you know, he hasn't, you know, spread around that kind of, the rhetoric that got him into trouble. On top of that, Guru was also the person who spread lies about another member, being, pretty not pretty inappropriate, because he was pretty inappropriate, but, you know, sexually harassing a minor was the allegation. Which, again, brings me into you saying that you know, that Carmen writer was right about the SCC. So the allegations against Ephraim were not accurate. The allegations against Ephraim were, overblown, twisted, and lied about, just distinctly. He was inappropriate with Fractured Light, that much is true. He's been talked to about that. We have sat him down in a call. Lio specifically grilled him about it and said that if he ever did anything like that again, Lio would become his problem. But the sexual harassment, the grooming allegations, the general predator allegations against Ephraim, none of those are actually true. Those were overblown. Those were lied about. What actually happened was not properly handled, and Guru lied when spreading that around on Twitter. So Carmen is not right about the SCC either. Carmen is not handling these allegations well either, and I almost sat down to do a video on Carmen talking about those very same allegations. I haven't because, frankly, Carmen does not strike me as someone who is exactly reasonable. So I didn't feel like it was I didn't feel like I was going to get anywhere with it. But she is lying about the SCC. She's going off of incorrect information and saying that we are harboring Ephraim as a predator knowingly, when that is not true. We have sat him down. We have talked to him about his behavior.
I personally, I don't think Ephraim is a predator. I disagree with Carmen on that so many times because I think of it more of a boundary issue that Ephraim crossed the boundary.
That leads me into our next question. Why are you in buddies with Carmen Ryder?
Because we play Yu-Gi-Oh together and we talk about Yu-Gi-Oh. That's the main
so
thing.
So you're going to sit here and tell me you're unaware that she's a lolicon? A publicly admitted lolicon.
I'm going to put it this way. Did she ever solicit sex from somebody? The whole aspect of grooming is based on the solicitation of sex.
That is
We're
not what I
grooming.
said.
We're not calling her a groomer. We're calling her a lolicon.
A self-admitted lolicon. Do you understand why being a lolicon is, in the Christian way of putting it, very frowned upon?
Yes, I understand, but I don't think. But Carmen did not offend.
We're not saying Carmen is a predator.
We're saying she is okay with drawings, essentially, drawings and fictional depictions of underage people, underage children, being put into compromising positions. Simply because it is drawn and not real, it has no links to pedophilia.
Carmen
Do you
also
understand why that's a problem?
Yes, I understand that's a problem, but I view it. My thing is, Carmen did not offend. That's my whole position on that.
But we're not saying she's offending. That's not the allegation.
I know, but I view that you're trying to paint it just because Carmen likes Lolicon, that means Carmen's a predator. That's the old saying, just because you have German blood, that means you're a Nazi.
Oh, we'll get into your Nazi comments later.
Yeah, that's a note that I have for later.
Anyway, okay, let me paint another picture for you. If someone is an admitted pedophile, they are attracted to underage children. They understand that it is bad, and they do not like the fact that they are like that. They do not like the fact that that is something that they are attracted to. Because pedophilia, the sexual arousal of children, is not something people can necessarily choose. If they understand that it is bad, and they do not offend, and I'm not saying Carmen's offending, but they understand that it is bad and they want to get help for it, that's one thing. That is something commendable. I I completely sympathize with those people who understand what is wrong about being attracted to children. Carmen, while she has only admitted to being attracted to, again, depictions of children, fictional depictions of children, just because she hasn't offended, she sees nothing wrong with it. That is a problem. We are not saying she has offended. If your buddy is talking about robbing this one person's house just because they haven't done it, but they really want to rob this person's house, are you still cool with them, like, thinking they should rob somebody's house?
That's an apples to orange argument right there. I'm just going to be honest on this matter. Just because I play cards with Carmen on the internet doesn't mean I agree with everything Carmen stands by. I hate the fact that
we're not saying you do. We're saying that why would you hang around someone that okay, let's put this another way, right? So you remember the last thing that I talked to you about, yeah? Remember the last time we had a conversation?
Yeah.
About the Gym Nova stuff?
Yeah.
And you added Carmen into this chat of gems.
No, that was Emmy's fault right there.
Well, point. Okay, but it doesn't matter who owned the server, I guess. The point is, you added Carmen into this server.
Yeah.
And you initially told me that it was to, make the server raid-proof. I kind of let with that. But informed me that after Carmen was banned from the server by Jim, you invited her back in.
Because Emmy did, because Emmy viewed that Carmen got an unjust ban based on stuff that's basically, in Emmy's eyes, rumors, and basically they're demonizing them.
They're not rumors. Carmen has been very vocal about being pro Lolicon.
Yeah, and I understand that, but I also view that people demonize her.
She doesn't exactly do herself any favors when she looks at, or when she's willing to talk NSFW topics with minors. Her videos are labeled 13 plus instead of 18 plus, like they should be. She's willing to just casually, throw around, very sexual topics, very, fetishy topics in her videos, under the presumption that only those who are over 13, again, not adults, they don't have to be adults, they just have to be over 13, they just have to be legal enough to be on YouTube. And she'll just throw that around out there. That in itself is a problem, because that is desensitizing kids to that type of to those
rhetoric.
Types of to that type of rhetoric. That's what happened with me as a kid. I got involved in those kinds of those kinds of topics, those kinds of communities as a kid, and that wasn't it took me so long to realize that wasn't healthy. I could have been a prime target for grooming. And I just would not have known. I probably was groomed, and I don't even know. I had a whole I had several role plays with people who were willing to get sexual about that, and I just didn't see it as a problem. a different kind of unhealthy. Whether or not you want to say, oh, Carmen's not a predator, Carmen hasn't offended, or that you also only see Lolicon as oh, it's fictional, so therefore it's probably not that. I don't know if you agree or not. I'm not saying that you do. I'm just under the hypothetical that you do.
No, I don't. I do believe Lolicon is very much a sick thing, and I don't want, if you like it, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, but
because you would not like what I would say to you.
Regardless of if you agree or not, but that's fine. But regardless of if you agree or not, the fact of the matter is, it is objectively a problem that you generally, more so Carmen, less so you, but it's more so a problem that Carmen is just willing to sit down with kids and talk about that. And I don't know if there's any minors in Jim Nova's server. Jim was asking me if they should make it 18 plus, so that tells me it probably wasn't initially. But that's a problem. That's an issue. She is just so willing to put minors in danger herself through those topics, through those conversations. That's a problem. That should not be encouraged. That should not be enabled. And I don't care if, she is a really fun Yu-Gi-Oh player or what have you. There are plenty of people in the SCC that are fun Yu-Gi-Oh players. And then you have Luxter.
That made me chuckle, thank you.
You're welcome. But, it's like, I don't care if she's a fun Yu-Gi-Oh player or not, you really shouldn't be enabling her in these circles, in these platforms, in these environments, where she can endanger other kids by desensitizing them to these topics. I don't know if it's exactly grooming, per se, but it effectively does the same thing.
Now, can I ask a question?
Sure.
And I know this is going to sound like a dumb question, but a dumb question is an unanswered question in my book. The term grooming, wouldn't a teacher be considered a groomer because they're teaching kids math, reading and writing skills?
Okay, so no. This is where that is inherent, objectively untrue. Grooming.
Okay.
Grooming is typically, and if we're talking in a sexual context for sure, it's a type of relationship that involves a heavy power imbalance. So that could be age, that could be job occupation, and in very awful, disgusting situations, it can be between a teacher and a student. But in this explicit sexual context, it is, like Doodle said, desensitizing the younger party or the more vulnerable party to sexual desires and to a sexual relationship.
All right, thank you, because that's one thing I had a difficulty grasping without grooming, because I was thinking, because I watched Tommy C. Shot from the Point. Tommy C. said anything could be considered grooming. A teacher teaching a kid a math problem could be they're grooming somebody. Or what
that's objectively untrue.
Or something Nicholas Diorio says, or Augie.
Yeah, no. Teaching a child basic life skills like math and reading is not grooming. It is teaching them basic life skills to survive. In fact, that type of teaching is beneficial to the child. Grooming is not beneficial to the child.
Yeah. Because everything with the grooming stuff, it was like.
Let me put it this way: as much as I hate math and reading, I highly doubt math and reading traumatize me. Grooming traumatizes children.
Okay. Yeah, that's. But now you can. now that's more clearer because I'm basically scared of what to say half the time in front of the FCC.
Here's the thing. Are you in minors' DMs talking about inappropriate topics that minors do not need to be talked with?
No, I don't. No minors. I don't like talking to kids because kids, in my opinion, are fucking stupid.
Are you discussing NSFW topics around minors?
If giving recipes for food is considered that, then no, I don't talk about that because I know better not to do that shit.
Okay, essentially, if you are not potentially or currently or whatever you have you bringing harm to children and or others in general, you're not gonna get quote unquote canceled. But first of all, I hate that word. Canceling. What we're doing is cleaning up the mess in the SEC. There is a I don't know if I can necessarily call it a dark underbelly of the SEC, but there are some things we need to get tightened. Some loose ends need to be tightened. There are a lot of kids in the SEC, and as adults, it is our responsibility in these communities to protect these children. And if there is anyone that could be a potential danger to them, they need to beat it, kick rocks, take a hike, whatever. Yeah. They do not belong in this community, not just simply because they are either gladly associating with predators, but people who allow that kind of harmful and dangerous behavior around not just children, but anyone in general. That cannot be allowed. There should be a zero tolerance policy for that. That's why we are cracking down as hard as we can. So many kids already have been harmed and have been traumatized. And to a best of our abilities, that needs to end. That needs to be nipped in the bud as much as we can. We need to take out the weeds. And people that are saying that there is a gray area to child predation, they need to be taken out by the root. Because I saw Kyokun in the comment section of that stream. There is no nuance. There is no gray area to being okay with being friends with a predator. Whether or not Sean Sampson necessarily wanted to be Dan's friend or whatever have you, whether or not he was afraid of retaliation of him spreading gossip about Sean.
Or his docs.
Okay. Is there any information that he had his docs? Is there any proof that he had his docs?
No, I'm just saying Dan had a history of doxing people. He did it with Makuru. He did it with Susie.
Okay.
So
the problem that I have is that Sean, how do I put this?
Actually,
I'm having trouble with that. But go on. I'm having trouble forming words about that.
Yeah. So, I did again. I do want to talk to Sean about this as well. But I want to ask you: do you happen to know who this friend was that kept, getting Sean back into contact with Dan?
No, I haven't talked to Sean in years.
Like before the stream, you don't know anything about that?
No, I don't know Jack crap because most of the time, Susie, I'll tell you this.
Did he not tell you anything, at all?
No.
Interesting.
I thought he said it in the
Very
call with you
interesting.
guys. I thought he said that in the call with you guys, or was that somebody else?
He did say it in the call. He absolutely had said it in the call a couple of times. But he never explains he never says a name. He never says anything about that. So that's interesting. It's very, very interesting.
Yeah. Because most of the time, I'll tell you, Susie, I'm usually at work. Or I go out to the diner all the time and just enjoy coffee.
Okay, so do you understand what we're saying about Carmen Ryder? Because that was a topic that we were talking about.
Yes, I understand.
Okay.
So you understand like why we have a problem with you being associated with Carmen Ryder?
Oh, yes, because of the whole potential of Carmen Ryder is a lolicon, and the issue of that matter is because of that, it really shows the type of it. I know it's a famous biblical quote that Lio said, "The friends you keep are the friends you." What's that? I heard it in the Cloak and Dagger. I know where this is going.
So what are you going to do about that in the future?
Number one, I'm just disassociate. Number one.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, I'm just going to go focus back on working because, let me put it this way, I like making money.
All right.
And believe me, I ain't no creep. Number one, I hate creeps ever since I became an uncle. I'm very protective of my family. And I can see where it is. I start to see more into things a little bit more clearer because I got them back on my meds. Yeah.
Well, Susie, you've got more stuff to talk about?
Oh, of course. We haven't even begun to scratch the surface of this doc.
Oh, God.
So, again, this is going to be something that I'm going to talk with Sean about, but I'm going to extend it to you because you really liked to enable this. So, Sean ranted on in that stream about not being able to explain the stuff with Dan in the call. But you've watched the call, yeah? You know that there was, like, 40 minutes before Lio had joined the call that Sean could have mentioned this stuff with Dan. Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
So why put all the focus on Lio?
Because I view Lio as grandstanding, badgering,
But
threatening Sean's life.
But the thing is Sean, again, was going on about not being able to say anything. Was being so nervous in the call with Phineas, I guess, as well, because, again, there was a whole 40 fucking minutes before Lio entered the call where it was just Sean and Phineas. And Pepper had brought it up, like, roughly, 10-20 minutes into the call? So there was still a whole 20 to 30 minutes that Sean could have went in and talked about the stuff with Dan Stein and why he was still hanging around him.
Yeah, something that was conveniently glossed over until Lio showed up and really focused on it.
True, but I also view Lio tends to really badger somebody and grandstand. I've seen grandstanding before, and that's grandstanding. I've seen it dozens of times. And I didn't like how Sean was basically bullied and stuff. I feel like he was bullied in that stream.
He wasn't.
So
well, not we, but there were questions that were not being properly answered.
Yeah, furthermore, you're using the term grandstanding here. Do you know what that means?
Yes, you basically try to get the confession out of somebody you want to hear.
That's not what grandstanding is. Grandstanding is the action of behaving in a showy or ostentatious manner in an attempt to attract favorable attention. It is doing something that is perceived as good for the sake of positive attention. So
I'm using the lawyer's term for grandstanding.
that's
Is that did you just give me the lawyer definition? You did.
I gave you the definition that you are using it in.
Because the way I look at it is, Lyle was bullying Sean into a confession.
That is not the word that you are. I don't know the word. I'll look up the word that you are actually looking for. But grandstanding is not it.
Okay, it must be badgering. It was badgering.
But, well, in any case, but yeah, no, whether or not you agree with Lyo's methods or not, that was not what I was asking. I was just asking why you were, like, kind of agreeing with Sean about not being able to get his story out there when he had, like, 40 minutes beforehand.
I didn't know about the 40 minutes beforehand thing.
You said you watched the video.
Yeah, if you watched the video, you would have known.
I did watch I watched the video, but I didn't know that he had plenty of time, and he welched on that. If I was put in that situation, I would have all the have all the receipts at hand.
It was in the call, Conundrum. He had 40 minutes in the call with Phineas. It was basically just Phineas, him, and myself. Pepper joined in at some point and talked about the Dan stuff, so it was mentioned.
Yeah.
But Sean never, conveniently glossed over that until it was brought up again with Lyo in the call.
I did not. I can't believe that. I watched your video about 2 times.
Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, you did. He did have 40 minutes. He should have brought that stuff up. That's on him, in my personal opinion, on Sean's end. But the thing is, I didn't agree with Sean being basically blackballed from the community.
Again.
Maybe it's...
But he put minors in danger. He put previous victims in danger.
Of course, yeah, but I'm not saying it's wrong, but I do understand why you did it. I don't agree with it, but I can see the ramifications of if Sean was still around in that community, minors will still be at risk, but
no, there's no but. There's no but.
I know.
There is no ifs, ands, or buts. So, children are being potentially put in danger because Sean is still willing to be around Dan, despite the fact that he is known to be a harm to children. Sean having access to children. If Dan had such this hold over Sean with, like you said before, the doxing thing, what is to say, and also Sean being consistently put back in contact with Dan, who's to say Dan could not have weaseled his hands around Sean and try to put him in contact with more minors? We can't take that risk.
I agree wholeheartedly with that. No, Sean is a danger.
So then why is it a problem if he's blackballed from the community?
maybe it's something with me on how I viewed. Sometimes that's not. I don't know. It's just that I can't even fathom half the time on why I agree on what that is the right thing to do, but I also disagree on it.
What do you disagree on?
What do I disagree on? I never believed in blackball. I don't like. Maybe it's because of my own experience of being blackballed from a store just because I said a slur once.
Uh-huh.
And like I said, it was an emotion. Maybe my emotions just overtook me that time because I view that why I'm like blackballing people, because I also view it's like if let's say somebody, and this happens in our communities, I'm going to be honest on that. Let's say somebody fakes an allegation and they get blackballed. But that's what the thing I'm afraid of. If somebody makes a fake allegation.
Well,
if somebody makes a
and
fake
here-
allegation, then it'll get looked into. These things had been looked into. It's like these things had been looked into. We previously knew of Dan's predatory behavior. That much was confirmed. When we found out that Sean kept in contact with Dan, that was also confirmed. We had Sean's confession.
Yeah.
and
these
verbal
are not-
and written form.
Yeah, so these are not false. These are not faulty pretenses. These are not false allegations. We have seen false allegations within the SEC as well. I mean, there was the whole thing with Horace, like back in 2019.
Yeah, that's what I'm bringing. That's what I'm trying to bring up. What if somebody makes a false allegation that causes somebody to be blackballed?
That's one of the reasons why, Lio has really helped us out. He knows and has showed us what things to look out for. What things to look for when it comes to inconsistencies. You're basing how we are now how we used to be. With specifically a one singular situation. It was a very bad situation, and it's something that we have actively gone out of our way to not repeat. Anytime someone has been blacklisted from the community, it is from very explicit evidence that they should not be in the community.
All right.
Sean admitted to still rubbing elbows with Dan. Long after the fact. Long after he was outed as a predator.
Yeah. Believe me, Dan, in my opinion, Dan should be not allowed in the community. And if Sean, and I agree wholeheartedly with what you're saying, because if Dan's that much of a threat, why in the hell would Sean be friends with him still if he's that much of a threat?
So you understand why he was blacklisted then. You understand why he needed to be blacklisted.
He needed to be blacklisted.
All right.
Right.
Alright. Next order of business. And this one, I'll admit, is a bit more personal on my end. You had made the insinuation that I was only using Lio to farm content and clout. You wanna explain that one a little bit?
Okay. I always believe this. If Lio and you want to do this stuff for victims and stuff, you shouldn't be making money off of it. That's what happened with Mama Max. He makes money off of people suffering.
See, first and foremost, I'm not a predator hunter. I'm just trying to keep the community safe. The only reason I put those calls out there, right? The only reason that I put those calls out there was because Sean was, if I can be blunt, lying about what happened in that call, about what happened in his ostracization from the SCC. He has just straight up lied at a few points, and I have been able to catch him on it. So I wanted to play my hand. I put those calls out there, not for, like... I'll be honest, I didn't put those calls out there, you know, to you know, I guess cancel Sean or what have you. I was just tired of him lying, and so I wanted to play my hand. That was it. I wanted to show what I had. Because Sean is not being 100% honest with anyone.
Yeah, because there's a lot of holes in Sean's story I started to see.
Anyway.
To be
honest...
Alright, sorry, I
say.
overtalked you. I apologize.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't want to make that video. I'm gonna be honest. I would have just been fine with letting that call kind of just sit in the archives. I didn't want to make that video, because right now, while the you know, the surgery healing, you know, I had the surgery back in November, so I'm not really dealing with that anymore. But what I am dealing with is stress is now medically fucking with me. I have a, like my doctor wants to maybe, what's the word? It's not coming to me. Point is, my doctor thinks I might have anxiety, and it's very stress-induced, and it is medically fucking with me. My health is not doing so great because of the stress of having to deal with these situations, or at least partly to deal with these situations. There might be something more to it. I don't 100% know. So I'd rather not deal with these stressful drama topics. I'd rather not. I would rather not currently be sitting here ready to talk with all four of you about something that we had already talked about, already discussed, and that none of you seem to know anything about.
Yeah, because Sonic Ward drugged me into that stream.
But you could have said no.
I know, but the way that they worded it, they duped me. And I hate being duped.
How did they dupe you?
By saying, oh, the SCC are at it again, they're always doing this, blah, blah, blah. You know, the typical anti-SCC rhetoric.
Hold on, I'm gonna leave the call. I'll be right back.
And Susie, I've been out of commentaries because I know what stress is dealing with. Like, Susie, I had a silent heart attack in 2022. So I have to keep my stress level down. And I'm going to give you the best advice I would tell you. Get some lavender, put it on your wrist, and if you feel stressed out, smell that lavender. It will help you calm down. Because lavender is a common scent.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. But yeah, no, it's like I don't just make these types of drama videos strictly for, you know, clout and cash. Yes, I do monetize my stuff. That is my upload defaults. And if you notice, I didn't even really put a description on that video in particular, so I just kind of went with my defaults.
Yeah.
But I don't just do these kinds of videos for that reason. I do it because people are not being honest. I do the regular style SCC stuff for entertainment, for a little clout maybe, and for a little, you know, for you know, the monetization. Sure, if you wanted to make those kind of arguments, fine. But
yeah.
these types of videos, and I made it as clear as I could in both the SCC's communication problem, the cloak and dagger stuff, and this situation with Sean and Ward, the only reason I have ever done these particular types of videos is because I need to. Because shit needs to get explained. Because there needs to be more light shed on it.
The whole reason the first Cloak and Dagger video even came out is because people like Tippy were sad posting about it and being so unbelievably vague. Susie needed to set the record straight.
And straight up dishonest. Tippy went into the Purely Odd Grandmasters to basically try and make this whole thing like, oh, I was bullied, I didn't do anything wrong, woe is me, you know. Tippy was a dishonest, frankly, just a dishonest person all around. So something needed to be put out there. So that's why I put the first Cloak and Dagger out there. It's also why I put the Cloak and Dagger 2 out there. I did the Sean thing because Sean was lying and posting about it all over the place. I did the thing with the SEC communication issue because those in the SEC needed to fucking hear it. Good God, they needed to hear it.
Yeah, because I view what they did to Blaze was ableism.
No, I agree. That's why I called it out in my video. Which, by the way, I definitely noticed you had said that Umbrus got away with all of that. She did not. She has a whole section in that video dedicated to her.
I know, but believe me and Umbrus, we do not gel well because I apologized to her for that Paradox situation. In a call in the Waffle House server, Umbrus accepted my apology. And ever since, I tell people not to make that mistake, that I get mentioned in a document that I'm this horrible person that kicks puppies on a daily basis.
What was called out, let's say what actually happened, Patrick. What happened was you were spreading false information. That is what was said. That is what was talked about.
Yeah, because Paradox told me a whole story.
Yeah.
And I believed it.
Okay. By the sounds of what you had put, or what you had said in the live stream, I have to find this in my notes. But yeah, what you had said in the stream was that you apologized for being volatile, for being aggressive. And as far as I can tell, Umbrus's account of this does fall in line with that. But did you ever apologize for spreading lies?
Yeah, I did. Actually, I did because the people who were in that call with me, absolute degenerate and stuff, I even have it in the Waffle House server. I believed in lies that I felt terrible about, and part of what I've done is in my own community with Emmy and Emmy's server is I tell Emmy never make that mistake I made.
Was this before or after I approached you about apologizing to me for also spreading lies about me in that situation?
This was before.
Okay. And
I took what I did as the worst thing I'd done.
Okay. So this is where I'm going to step in because we can level with each other. We both can relate to this. So the whole thing with Umbrus, you had talked about how she disrespected your father. Now, I understand losing a parent is very difficult. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. It is a very touchy subject for me, as I know it is for you. We talked about earlier how you do tend to go into things without thinking. Yes or no?
Yeah, and I'm working on that a lot, even with my counselors.
Okay. So I'm going to read off the passage that you took issue with. Oh, of course. Of course. One moment. Of course my Google Docs want to restart
I have
as
it.
soon as I open up. Okay. Read the specific part out.
Okay. We actually did get Conundrum into a call shortly after this happened. I have trouble remembering what exactly happened, but I remember Conundrum brought up that Paradox took advantage of Conundrum's father passing away. Now, if this isn't true, that's a horrible thing to lie about. But if it is true, Paradox is a shitty person for doing that. What you choose to believe is up to you. I'm not entirely sure myself. You should note that Conundrum is in his 40s, so the fact that he was so up in arms about what a teenage girl thought of what people he knew is really goofy. Remember, I was 16 when this happened.
Now, I'm going to level with you. I'm going to... Again, I relate. I understand any topic about your dad would be a touchy subject. I can understand where you're coming from on that.
Yeah.
But there is a point you do have to discern actual disrespect or bringing up, fact. It would be horrible if you did lie about it. Would that, yes or no? Would that be horrible if you did lie about that?
Yes, it would, but I didn't.
I believe that you didn't. What she was saying was less of a condemnation of you. It was more of she wasn't in the room with you two. She can't say whether or not it happened or didn't happen. If Paradox did that, in her viewpoint, in her perspective, if Paradox did do that, that's a horrible thing to do. And again, she's not in the room with you guys. She didn't know what all you talked about. She didn't know how he could have, possibly manipulated your father's death against you. She's not going to claim she knows what happened. She's not going to claim that she knows what was said. What she was saying in that passage specifically was not disrespecting your father. It was condemning Paradox, if in her eyes, if he did do that to you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to believe you. I have no reason not to, because Paradox is a manipulator and a horrible human being. I have no doubt in my mind he's capable of doing something like that. But you're saying that she disrespected your father is not true.
Well, the fact of the matter, she said, as for the Conundrum, Rio and stuff, don't ever talk to me again. If you decide to apologize, I won't even accept it. I apologized to her the day I was wrong.
Okay. What I'm telling you, and here's the thing, you don't have to like Umbrus, okay? I'm not telling you to be friends with her. But you're saying she did something that she actively did not do. And I understand that your mind can be very foggy when it comes to that type of topic. And I say you as like a royal you, not you specifically. I make dead dad jokes about my dad all the time. It's how I cope.
Believe me, I cope with the stories of me and my dad going to traveling all the time.
But I make jokes about my dad dying every year. So he's been dead for 2 years. Every year on his birthday and on Father's Day so far, I've posted a picture of like an urn, making a joke about how he's dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like how I celebrate every day with my dad. I put on Dr. Strangelove.
But that's what I do.
Yeah.
If someone that I didn't know were to make jokes about my dad being dead, that would be disrespect. What Umbrus was doing was because you were spreading false information about people who had nothing to do with the situation. You've admitted that you sometimes talk out of your ass. Yes or no?
Yes.
So
I jump the gun a lot.
I can understand in one way or another that Umbrus would be very hesitant to believe what you say, but she's not outright saying you're lying. She's not saying anything awful about your dad. She is playing a neutral stance. If you were lying about Paradox using your dad's death against you, that would be awful. But if he didn't, that's awful on his part. That's what she was saying. She wasn't using your dad's death against you. She was condemning Paradox if that's what he did to you. In her eyes, if that's what he did to you, she is condemning him. It has nothing to do with your dad in the big crux of it. Your dad is not being disrespected.
The way I know, but the way I view it is, if Umbrus knew that, why did she like saying, as for Conundrum, Rio and stuff, don't ever talk to me again?
Because she doesn't want to talk to you again. Just because somebody accepted your apology, that doesn't mean they have to talk to you again.
No, but at the same time, that's like, from where I come from. Now, this is probably because of my generation. If somebody apologizes to you when they're in the wrong, and you say that's something, it's like, from my point, it's like you took my apology and basically spat in my face. Okay,
but I don't think that's necessarily how that works. Umbrus can forgive you for the act of spreading false information about her and her friends and whatnot, but that doesn't mean she has to be friendly with you. I have forgiven people in the past that I will never speak to again because I don't want them in my life. You are not entitled to have someone still be cool or be friendly with you or make nice with you. Just because you apologize, they can forgive what you did, but they can also choose to not want to be around you. That is something that they are allowed to do. Umbrus was the hurt party in this situation. She has every right to not want to associate with you. And I can't blame her. You are in your late 30s beefing with a 16-year-old. You can't sit there and tell me that that's not weird. Like, it's weird, and it's not something you should be doing.
Yeah, I agree, and that's why I started basically not whenever it's a kid who argues with me, instead of just going off on them, I just walk away.
But you didn't. You didn't walk away. You were spreading false information. You're saying that she disrespected your father, when if you read the passage, it's not what was going down. You didn't walk away. And also, if I'm remembering this correctly, Susie, please correct me. Did you not disavow her grooming experience in that stream? Or am I making things up in my head?
Oh, he absolutely did. He straight up explicitly said that Umbrus's Paradox document was full of bullshit. Just straight up.
Because there's things in there that she says in the beginning that really shoots her argument in the foot.
No.
What?
Actually, no. I know damn well what you're talking about, and you're still wrong. Let me get the exact quote again from the document. And I quote, "I don't remember the exact details on us finding each other, but the timeline I recall is him being in mutual servers of mine as early as 2018. Right out of the gate. There are some strange things about him, whether it be his attitude, how he genuinely conducted himself, or how he wanted everything to be about him. However, there was a recurring pattern that anyone who's been in a call or two with Paradox can confirm. He was very inappropriate and hypersexual. Let's get a few facts straight here. In 2018, I was 12 going on 13, and he was roughly 27. Nowadays, I'm 18 and he's 32, 19 and 33 this year respectively. That is a 14-year age gap. Already not a great sign. I live in Ireland where the age of consent is 17, while Paradox lives in the Philippines where the age of consent was 12 pre-2022. Now it's 16. Now, before you say anything, no, I don't care that, quote, shoots my case in the foot. That doesn't fucking matter. If your morals justify behaviors like this because it's legal, then that's fucked up. She was using the phrase shoots my case in the foot as a preemptive rhetorical argument to argue that age of consent in a separate country should not morally justify being inappropriately sexual with minors. I am almost, I'm at the point where I'm certain you did not actually read the document. I don't believe you did.
I did. I read it
I
dozens of
don't
times.
believe you because you have now said like 3 things about this document that are untrue.
Not to mention, earlier, you talked about watching the video with Sean and Sonic Ward. Within the first 40 minutes, it was Phineas and Sean. But you said you didn't realize that happened. But it was in the first 40 minutes of the video. So excuse us if we don't believe you.
Yeah, you have also said that you went into a lot of this without very much information at all because Sean didn't tell you anything. You have gone into this whole situation half-caught without any ammunition, without any understanding of what's going on. We have had to sit here and tell you about 3 or 4 different things that you should have already known going into the situation. If you had watched the videos or read the document that you allege that you have.
Allege I have? I gave Ellie the document personally. So
Just
I do have
gave
the
it to me, that doesn't mean you read it.
I did read it.
Then you would know what the preemptive shooting in the foot meant. So either you're being dishonest to us now about what you actually read, or you're just hoping we don't know what you're talking about.
No, I'm not saying I'm being dishonest. I just view if you've said that type of line, it's like...
The context surrounding it is the important part. She was stopping an argument before it could be made. The legality is not the principle. On principle, it is wrong to be sexual in any type of way, whether it is within a group setting or in a personal one-on-one setting. It is inappropriate and wrong on principle to discuss, show visual, or anything of the sort of any NSFW content with a minor, let alone someone who isn't even a teenager.
Of course, I agree with that wholeheartedly.
So she doesn't shoot herself in the foot. She was groomed, and it is nasty. It is disgusting that you would try to disavow her grooming experience because you have a grudge.
This is the other thing I will bring up in the document. The Mordred era. This was a weird one. Unfortunately, all of this happened in my old Discord account, which no longer exists. That said, I only remember fondly what went down around 2019. I developed a crush on Fate/Apocrypha, whatever that game is. I don't care about the game. Character Mordred. I found her cute. That was really it. I didn't think of her in any other major way than look at Funny Girl Go. I'm sure we'll have had those innocent crushes. It's normal. There's a
What
whole...
does that have to do with anything I just said?
I'm bringing up stuff... I'm bringing up some of the document.
Okay, let's continue reading then. Paradox took notice of this crush. I was open about it, so what did he do? Send me art of her? Okay, not entirely bad, right? Wrong. Remember when I established his carelessness? He would send me any art of Mordred. This led him to linking risque, lewd images of her. Pretty sure at some point some of them were borderline ecchi. He'd do this numerous times almost every single day, even while I was at school no less. He did it because he knew I'd like it. Sometimes he'd link to this site called Danboru. For all intents purposes, it was an image board mostly used for NSFW. This is not the last time this will be brought up, so put a pin on that for now. I wonder why he'd willingly send me, and at the time, 13 to 14 years old, artwork from an NSFW site. I don't even think he ever warned me about it. What was his intention? Was he trying to make me horny? I don't know for sure. It sadly worked, though.
Like,
That is a descriptor of grooming. If you want an example of what grooming is, there you go. Textbook definition of grooming. Desensitization. Consistently sending Umbrus these types of materials that she should not be having access to. Sending her specific links to risque or just straight up porn sites. Sending these to her consistently, whether she's at home or school. Please try telling me that's not grooming. I want to hear you try to explain that, how that's not grooming.
all right. I do believe this is grooming behavior, for sure.
Then what's the hole? What's this? What is this giant fucking hole that turns this entire fucking thing bullshit? Paradox? Or not paradox. Conundrum.
What draws it to bullshit? Because my view is this. What Umber said, that Paradox is basically worse than V Omega. Paradox did not pressure Umbrus into oral.
Where the
Paradox-
fuck in this document does she compare him to V?
Outside of V Omega, Paradox Philosopher is probably my most
outside
agreed.
of V. So she has said that V Omega was worse. Outside of V. Do you know what words mean, Patrick?
Yes, I do. And I take that as...
We are being as firm and we are being kind of yelly at you because these are not something to fuck around with. Do you understand where you digged up? You're telling someone who was being shown these just because there was no physical interactions with these two. That does not mean that a child was not groomed. That does not mean a child was not traumatized. That does not mean a child was not harmed.
I agree with you that Umbrus was harmed. But
then why are you trying to say because V Omega attempted to rape somebody that they shouldn't be comparable to each other, when that's not what Umbrus said. They were not comparable.
Yeah. And the thing, I even view it like this. If somebody's being that type of stuff, sending you stuff, block them. It's that easy. Hit the block button.
Children don't understand that. She was a child. You and I understand if someone's harassing you to a point where you're uncomfortable, you block them. But children do not mentally understand that this is inappropriate. When it comes to people who are that young, they don't like being seen as children. They are still children, but they don't want to be seen as children. So when an adult is showing them things that only adults should be looking at, they feel like they're a big kid. They feel like they're being heard. That's one of the big reasons why groomers will pit these children against their parents. Because their parents know, hey, my child shouldn't be looking at porn. My child shouldn't be looking at these types of things because it's inappropriate. But the kid does not want to be treated like a kid. In their eyes, their parents putting restrictions on, devices, television, stuff like that, they view as them being babied. So when this adult is coming in and showing them these things and treating them like an adult, they are more likely to be sucked into their disgusting web of manipulation. So no, I'm so sorry. No, Patrick, they can't just block them. Because they think they're being treated like the adult they think they are. Do you understand that?
Also, Umbris not blocking Paradox does not give Paradox the right to be inappropriate with a minor. I shouldn't have to say that one.
I know, but it shouldn't. In fact, I look at what he did was overstep boundaries immensely, because my whole thing on this is, if Paradox is doing that shit, then he's guilty in my eyes.
But you said
the dog was bullshit.
Because the one thing I will say that is bullshit is this. Paradox was a big contributor to my hypersexuality and possibly led me to a borderline porn addiction. I am an addict myself. I was an alcoholic. You do not blame your other people to your addiction. You are powerless to your...
12!
That was a child! The child was being groomed into thinking being around porn 24/7 was okay! Sex addiction is a very real thing!
I know sex addiction is a thing. I was an alcoholic.
So
you never blame somebody for
the child! You were sitting here saying that Paradox did this thing that was bad. Paradox did bad things. Paradox shouldn't have done that. But yet, you put a fat old butt in there because you just want to find every solution to blame Umbris. Let it go. She was groomed. You were wrong. We had proven you are wrong.
I'm bringing up the point with the addiction part. I'm bringing it up because I'm an addict myself. You yourself are powerless to your addiction. You can't blame others. You have to accept that it's you who falls under your own addiction.
Oh my God! I'm about to get so violent.
Okay, let me try to walk you through this. So, you and I and Ellie all agree that what Paradox did was grooming, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. So do you know the effects of grooming?
Yeah.
Tell me what they are.
I know the effects of grooming because you're talking to a survivor.
Tell me what they are then. Tell me what they are then, Patrick.
Chemical codependency. The proclivity of basically, sometimes in some cases, falling in love with the opposite gender. It does happen. I've seen it. So, self-harm, low self-esteem, low self-worth, value. So, in some cases, people will resort to prostitution. In other severe cases, some people actually become serial killers. I know all this because I watch a lot of documentaries and stuff. And I view that...
One of the effects to grooming is the desensitization to touch and discussions of sexual topics. Abusers will often start to touch a victim in ways that appear harmless, such as hugging, wrestling, and tickling, and later escalate to increasingly more sexual contact, such as messages or showing together. Abusers may also show the victim pornography or discuss sexual topics with them to also introduce the idea of sexual contact. Grooming, as we just got through explaining about the Carmen thing, does not have to be a direct form of, does not have to be a direct form of, like, abuse. It doesn't have to be a sense of, like, I'm getting, I'm touching this kid or what have you. It doesn't have to be that. It is more of a matter of desensitizing them to the idea of these intensely sexual topics. Umbrus was, again, 12 or 13 at the time. She was very, very young. She did not understand a fucking damn thing that Paradox was showing her. But Paradox was showing these things, these images, to Umbrus to get her desensitized to the idea. Her addiction, her borderline porn addiction, could actually, yes, have been started by Paradox introducing these sexual topics, these sexual images to someone by and desensitizing them to sorting out after it. By showing Umbrus that this stuff is okay.
It's like it's planting a seed.
Yeah, it's like I understand with like, say, alcohol addiction or cigarette addiction, stuff like that. Yeah, you are a victim to your addiction.
Yeah, that's where.
I'm not disagreeing with you because you're right. But in this particular instance, it is a kid, it is a child, and they are being groomed actively into sorting out this porn addiction. It is sorting out all of these pornographic material, all of this pornographic imagery. It is being groomed into having that porn addiction. That's not incorrect. It's not. Yeah, that's not incorrect. That's not bullshit. It's like, but yes, you can be a victim to your addiction, even at an early age. But like, both of these things can be true. The addiction could have started from Paradox.
Do you understand why that's such a problem with what you said earlier?
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand. Maybe it's because I view addiction is a lot. My view of addiction, because I'm an alcoholic. I'm 6 years sober.
Mm-hmm.
I look at it as you can't blame anybody else for your own addiction. You are powerless to your own addiction.
But you understand.
I learned that in AA.
But you understand where we're talking about with Umbrus, right? Like you understand that she is not necessarily this. It's not necessarily the exact same as what you've gone through.
Yeah.
So, what are your views on Umbrus's experience then, given what we've talked about?
I view that Umbrus was at that age was preyed upon by Paradox, which I disassociated with Paradox the minute this shit happened.
So you agree she was groomed?
I agree she was groomed, but I didn't like that whole thing about the porn addiction thing.
You don't have to like it. You don't have to like how she worded something.
Yeah.
Fact of the matter is she was groomed. Fact of the matter is she was preyed upon. Fact of the matter is that you sitting here disavowing her experiences is absolutely shameful.
Because I look, and it's also, she put my name in there.
Because you were going around spreading misinformation about people like me.
Yeah, because Paradox told me that.
You still did it! Just because he manipulated you into doing a bad thing, that does not necessarily mean you didn't do the bad thing!
I know that.
You are responsible for your own actions. Your actions do not just affect you. So yes, Umbrus was going to put you in the document because you were connected, because you were put into this situation without knowing jack or shit. Very parallel to this one. I am trying so hard not to yell at you, Patrick. I'm trying really hard, but you are making it impossible.
I know, but I also feel like Umbrus is trying to say that I do the shit that Paradox did.
No, she didn't. No, she did not. Those words, those implications were never in the document, Patrick. Do not say things that did not happen. Just because you feel a certain way, that does not necessarily mean something did happen. I can feel like Susie fucking hates me because she doesn't play into the bit that she's my wife. That's not the truth. We're friends. She just doesn't play into the bit because she doesn't play into the bit.
Yeah.
I can feel one way about something, but that doesn't make it a reality. You can feel however you want to feel about Umbrus. You can fucking hate her for all I care about. But what you will not be doing is you will not be sitting here and saying that what she went through doesn't exist because you have a grudge. That is what all of this culminates into. You had a grudge with a 16-year-old and now 18-year-old because of what you think happened, what you feel might have happened, but not what actually happened. So do not sit there and say, oh, I completely believe that Umbrus was groomed. But, no, there is not going to be a but in that sentence. You either believe she was groomed or you don't. Do you believe that she was groomed, yes or no?
Yes, I do.
So then anything else, any feelings you have towards Umbrus, any issues you might have with her need to be completely divorced from the objective fact that Paradox Philosopher groomed her and made her a victim of predation.
I do agree with that, and I should put my bias aside. Because
thank you.
I know I am a very biased person with Umbrus.
Susie, what else do you have to talk about? We need to move on from this topic.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about Ward. So I understand that Sonic Ward was going through a move. But the quote was, how would you even know of this stuff? So again, this is another instance of I'm not sure if you actually watched the video you were telling me you watched, because we found that there was a screenshot of Sean telling Ward, or telling, I guess, Tricky specifically, but it was a screenshot given to Ward, that Dan showed soft child pornography in a voice call. This was given directly to Ward.
Well, that's a mistake on my part. I will admit to that, because the reason why, I haven't talked to Ward for 4 years. But the last time I heard from Ward, he was moving and his computer was having issues.
No, I know that Sonic Ward was going through a move. He had told the Cloud Palace as such. I'm not saying that he wasn't.
Yeah.
However, you were asking how would Ward have known of Sean keeping Dan around, even after the terrible things that Dan had done. And the answer is, the screenshot that we found going through Ward's DMs with Sean, there was the screenshot of Sean telling Tricky, given to Ward, that Dan showed soft child pornography in a call. That was in the video. That was in the Ward call. this is again another one of those instances where did you actually watch the video that you were telling us that you had watched?
Yes, I have. I did watch the video. Because I've saw the whole thing through and through, and like the one thing that was brought up, like when you were searching for Dan Stein, Dan Al Chai brought up, and Lyle was like, "Oh, Dan Al Chai, I knew it."
Okay, but
That's a non sequitur right there.
but that means you know that the DMs between Ward and Sean had talked about Dan being involved in, well, being the person who was sending softcore child pornography. So what's the problem there?
Like I stated, I haven't talked to Ward in 4 years.
That
I will state that I haven't talked to him in 4 years. I did saw that thing. I'm like, I had to message Ward on seeing what was going on, because in a way, I'm like, I was in denial about a lot of this stuff, because it's like you see your friend do something, you hear about your friend doing something, and immediately you're like, that's not him. You can't believe it.
Yes, but eventually you get out of the state of denial and you accept that that's what's going on. What you did was try to perpetuate that Ward was innocent when he wasn't. Being in denial is one thing. You know, I can understand being in denial. Hell, I would have been more, I would have been understanding if, and I'm using this as an example, I'm not necessarily comparing you two. I would understand if Vigelsio would be in denial in the beginning of V being a groomer. They were close. Well, they are close, but you know, especially at the time, they were close. Nobody wants to think that their friend is capable or is going to do these horrible bad things. Being in denial for a little bit is one thing. It's the fact that Vigelsio continued to be friends with them. And in your case, you were enabling Ward to deny what was objectively true about him. He knew about Dan and didn't do anything. You egged him on live. That's not being in denial. That's just not believing what you're seeing with your own two eyes. I would have totally believed you being in denial if you didn't go on that string.
Because
I didn't want to believe that you were spreading lies about me, that I was manipulating Umbris. But I had to come to terms with that fact.
I can't. It's like I can't see Sean and Ward doing this shit.
But he did.
That's the thing. It's like
yeah,
I feel like
I couldn't believe the stuff with, you know, Tippy, Key, and Vigil. I was friends with all three of them, but alas, Cloak and Dagger happened.
yeah, it's tough when Ward was there when I was going through a hard time. Because Mavi knows what the hard time I was dealing with, and Ward donated to my GoFundMe for that. And it's like, this isn't Ward. I know Ward. He's a nice guy. He helped me out when I was struggling.
And I understand you not wanting to believe that this happened. I understand you don't want to think your friend is capable of doing something bad. But the fact of the matter is that he did do something bad. He danced around every direct question that was given to him. He actively tried hiding it until we told him to share the screen. Well, until they told him to share the screen. And he was shown to have omitted that information. Just because you don't want to believe it, that does. Listen, I understand living in Delulu land. Trust me, I get being delusional. But I'm delusional with fictional men with edgy backstories. I'm not delusional with facts of people omitting information about a child predator. It sucks. It's fucking gut-wrenching. You don't ever want to believe these types of things about your friends, but you can't just pretend it's not there.
It's basically a hard pill for me to swallow.
So you going on that stream and enabling Ward, you were enabling Ward to say the shit he was spewing and to make excuses for himself as to why he's totally innocent, bro. That's irresponsible. That's not being in denial. You just don't want to believe it. And you're riding along with your own delusion.
Yeah, I know. It's just, thank you for understanding that. I can't fathom this stuff. Like, it puts my, believe it or not, my trust is so much on guard now. Because I'm afraid the next person I'm friends with is going to be some sort of horrible human being.
So then why were you going on the stream saying, no guys, Ward is totally innocent, bro. He's totally innocent. Nothing bad ever happened. He was moving. So we shouldn't hold him accountable for omitting the fact that he was friends with someone who was friends with a child groomer.
I really made an ass of myself.
Well, you obviously had a reason for doing it. Nobody does things for no reason.
Because Ward, where I come from, if you do something nice for somebody, you have to repay that.
Okay, but that's not repaying. You're shielding someone who is not good to be in the community. You're shielding him from his responsibility. You're shielding him from him taking accountability. You're letting him make excuses on stream. You're giving him reasons to run away from his responsibility of what he did. That's not repaying a friend. You are doing him a disservice by doing that. If you give him any respect as not even a man, but just an adult and a person with integrity, doing them a favor is holding them accountable. If I fuck up, if I say something totally out of pocket, I rely on my friends to say, hey, that was fucked up, or what you did was not cool, because they care about me. And they don't want me to make that kind of mistake again. So you going up there, letting Ward just run away from the fact that he got caught is irresponsible, and you are doing him a disservice. You are not helping him out. You're making him worse. Bless you.
Bless you, Susie.
I guess on the note of people who you felt the need to repay, I also definitely took note of you saying that Neko Koda was done dirty.
Oh, yeah. I've got something to say about that. Neko Koda was the only one who gave me a chance, huh? So I just don't exist.
No, I'm saying the first person who gave me a chance.
No, that is not what you said. That is not what you said. You said Nekokota was the only one who gave you a chance. Do not lie to me. I heard what you said.
Because Coda was the one who invited me in their first server, knew I was a former Alt-CC member, and looked past that.
And I didn't?
Then I met you through Arkham.
No. That's not what you said. You said Nekokota was the only person who gave you a chance. I heard about the kind of person that you were when I joined a community in 2018. And I decided to look past that and talk with you and try to be your friend. I would tell people behind your back, Conundrum isn't that bad of a guy. He's a good dude. He just gets emotional sometimes, but he has a good heart. I did that without you. I never told you I did that stuff because you don't. Your actions are based on what you do when no one's looking versus when they are. That's what I would do behind your back. I would tell people how actually good you were. And how you were actually a really great person if you just took the chance to know him. That's why Dollsmith was, willing to give you a chance. That's why anyone was willing to give you a chance. It's because of me. Because I had to act as your PR manager. And you said that. And you said that Nekokota was the only person that gave you a chance. Fuck me, I guess. Fuck me, right? I didn't do anything.
You did a lot, Abby. If it wasn't for you...
You mean Ellie?
Ellie. Sorry, I always refer to you as that. I apologize for that. I'm sorry for dead naming.
It's whatever. It's not the point. The fact of the matter is, and I know that there's more problems with you saying that about Nekokota, but this is a personal thing for me. That's one of the reasons I had to stop watching that stream for a while. Because I was so undeniably heartbroken. I was just never considered. Did Nekokota raise money for you? Did Nekokota give you her platform? Did Nekokota try to, again, be your PR manager and try to, actually help your reputation by saying, hey guys, he's actually really cool if you get to know him? Did Nekokota, have to, go out of their way to convince you, hey, maybe you shouldn't pick fights with random MGTOW people on YouTube. It's not worth your health. You have bigger things to worry about. Did she do that for you? I don't think she did. I did all those things. All of them. And you had the balls to say that Nekokota was the only one that was there for you? How actually fucking dare you? But you didn't go around spreading misinformation about Nekokota. You did that to me, though. Saying I manipulated a child to go out about a grooming experience. And here's the thing, right? I wish I could take credit for convincing Umbrance to come out about her experiences, because Paradox is a fucking freak. But it's the fact that you went around saying these things about me, that I was manipulating a teenager, never even had thought to come to me, and then what was it? At least 2-3 years later, I have to go to you to get an apology from you. But then everybody else got into a call in the fucking Denny's parking lot, and they all got an apology. Not me. I don't deserve that.
Because I was told by Argument Degenerate that you didn't want anything to do with me.
It doesn't matter. It's the principle that I should have been apologized to. I deserved an apology. You hurt me.
I know, and I can never forgive myself for it.
I don't care that you can't forgive yourself for that. I don't care. So now, after we had the conversation we had about that, You then turn around and say Nekokota was the only one that cared about you? That went out of their way to give you a chance? After that, I'm sorry I gave you a chance.
I think you're taking what I said and basically cherry picking it. I'll be honest.
No! I'm not!
You straight up said that Koda was the only one who gave you a chance.
Do not say I'm saying something that I'm not! I heard what you said with my own 2 ears! I'm taking what you said!
I feel like the words are being twisted in a way.
No! I can guarantee you they are not.
Because what I meant by
Twisted, Patrick, is what you said!
I know how it was worded, and believe me, I worded that whole statement poorly. And Mavi, Ellie, sorry, I'm getting used to the new name. You did a lot for me, and I could see why you feel hurt. It was not my intention. I was not intentionally trying to hurt you.
So why do you think Nekokota was done dirty?
Because, I'll put it this way. Nekokota doxing a 17-year-old, but it's okay for Lion to dox a 15-year-old.
When did he do that?
Dreadful Jacks.
Did he post their information online? Or did he use the information to contact a school? Because one of those things is doxing. Doxing is uploading private information that is not readily available to the public. What Lio did was contact their school. Their information was not put out publicly. The information was used to inform his school. That is not doxing.
Also, I want to clear the record here. Koda did not actually dox a child. She threatened the child with their dox info, very akin to what you had said, or what Sean, I guess, had been saying that Dan was going to do. But Koda did not actually dox Shaggy. The dox never got posted.
Yeah, but I feel like Koda shouldn't have been ostracized like that.
No one
You
just makes
felt like hold on, no. You felt like someone who was just so willing to blackmail a minor with their information shouldn't have been cut from the internet? And that's never mind all of the other shit that she did beforehand. What with Septi, or what with, you know, encouraging Septi to draw, rape art of Carmen after getting onto Carmen's case for that. Or the time that Koda threw, you know, Cosmo Stardust or, Eternal Storyteller under the bus, in favor of the Omega. Or how she constantly picked fights with us, even if, spreading lies about people, very flippantly, very, willingly, and very knowingly. She had spread lies about me in particular, claiming that I was, defending homophobia in a video, and then, actually took...
I know that. I know that one.
Then where's the part where she shouldn't have been ostracized from the internet, when she's willingly putting people in danger, willingly ready to paint a target onto people, and again, I cannot stress this enough, blackmailing a minor with their dox info!
But didn't this minor also try to go after a young person as well, Mushroom Girl?
That
Yes,
doesn't
both
mean the adult
both-
has the right to threaten a child.
Yeah, no, see, but you are right that Coda, that Mushroom Girl was ultimately the victim in this. You know, being the target of harassment from another child. Yeah, it's wrong what Shaggy did, but it's also wrong what Coda did. Two wrongs do not make a right in this scenario, especially when one of those wrongs is, quite frankly, illegal.
So please, explain to us how she should be welcomed back with open arms in this community.
No, I don't think she should be welcomed back with open arms. I never stated that.
Okay, well then fine. Let me say this then. So tell me why was being kicked out of the community so wrong? How on earth was she actually done dirty then?
How? Because I'll be honest, I don't believe in the ostracizing thing. Like the whole thing of casting people out.
We already talked about this.
I'm all right. I'm just saying I don't believe what Coda did. Coda can be reformed. That's how I view it. Coda is a person.
Be reformed off the internet.
Yeah.
We're not saying she's a lost cause that should be drawn and quartered or something. We're saying she needs to be off the internet. It's unhealthy for her.
She doesn't deserve a platform, is what we are saying. Because, frankly, she doesn't. She has misused She has misused it on several occasions, and has shown time and time again that she is not willing to learn from her mistakes. She just wants to play victim and take shots at anyone else that might have a problem with her. We've seen that time and time again as well. I have a whole 9.5 hour long video about it.
We've given her chances for years. She has squandered every chance we've given her. Eventually, it's no longer shame on you or shame on me. It's get the fuck out and never come back.
But
no,
I agree with the cancel culture.
It's not cancel culture. Oh my god, it's not cancel culture. It's not. It's just not. She cannot have a platform. She is irresponsible with every single platform she has ever been given. It doesn't matter what you think about with cancel culture. What she has been doing for years. Not one singular incident that now all of a sudden she's ostracized in the community. Years. She cannot be in our circles. She does not deserve it because of the information that has been very publicly known in a span of 9 hours. No one just makes a 9-hour video on nothing. It is not being canceled. It is being held accountable for her actions. She cannot be on the internet because she is not responsible with the internet. Next question. I am done with this topic.
All right. So, while I do agree with you that what was done in that first Blaze call was absolutely reprehensible, you do realize that Blaze had also put minors in danger, yeah?
Oh yes, this all happened when I left as an admin because I had better things to pursue, like becoming an assistant manager.
So how is Blaze actually done dirty then?
The whole thing of I have autism, but it doesn't make me.
No. I agree that the first call was bad.
We all agree.
Yeah, like Lio called it out, Ellie called it out, I called it out. We all agree that call was atrocious. But that doesn't necessarily mean that Blaze was done dirty, especially when there were 2 other calls towards Blaze, where at the end of the day, we still all agreed that Blaze really should not be in these circles. Because, again, he also put minors in danger. He was also very flippant about predators being within the SCC command, whatever. You know,
The Waffle House.
Yeah, the Waffle House. He was very flippant about all of this. So, I mean, at the end of the day, how was he done? He was like, yeah, again, the one call was done poorly, but the other 2 calls weren't. So how was Blaze done dirty?
My view is that one call, the other calls were good. That's what I mean. He was done dirty in that, and I should have gave more context in that first call. He was done dirty.
The whole call did not need to be out there. The parts where Susie was arguing with was all that was necessary.
Yeah.
We all know it was a bad call. No one's saying in any capacity that call was productive, good, or otherwise. If anyone thinks that, they're insane. But that doesn't negate what Blaze did. What 2 things can exist at the same time?
Like I'm saying, that's what I'm saying. I don't agree with the first call. I agree because that's where I said he was done dirty in that first call.
Well, that's not what you said. You said he was done dirty.
Yeah.
Well, that
Well,
in that regard,
I'm giving you the context what I meant by done dirty.
Okay. Again, the context was not given. You just said he was done dirty, and we're under the assumption that the whole situation in which we told him that he needs to leave and do better was the done dirty part. You need to be a little bit more specific with that.
Yeah.
All right, next thing.
Doodle shouldn't have had the ward call in the courthouse. And then you proceed to call me a coward for bringing Ward into the courthouse.
Because person A, what I mean by that is if Ward said he wanted to talk to you privately first,
He didn't.
and he did. Well, Ward told me Ward told me otherwise.
I know what Ward said. But at the end of the day, he just said that he wanted a conversation about it, and I had initially called him for a one-on-one, and when he didn't pick up, eventually Lio caught wind of it and wanted to converse with him, so that's why I brought him in the courthouse.
But don't we all have lives also? This is the part I'm going to bring up.
Oh my, okay. I had skipped over that note, but I'm glad you want to bring it up. So, yeah, don't we all have lives? Yeah, Ward said that he was ready to talk. Ward said that he was willing to talk. When I had called him, he didn't pick up. So, then I had said in our DMs, and Ward had explained this, that I was willing to reschedule it with Ward if he was too busy. I was like, oh, maybe some other time then. My exact words. So I was like, okay, I have more time to talk about this now. Join me in VC. I did actually initially call it for the courthouse, but it was just going to be a one-on-one. And then when Ward didn't hop in the courthouse, I called him. And then I had said, guess not anymore then? Okay, I'll try again later. Ward then says, sorry, I'm running a little busy for a bit. It was important. Can you give me some time, though? I'm really trying to handle something real quick. I hope you understand, and sorry again for missing the call. I was away from my laptop. I then responded with, let's hop in the courthouse for a bit then. Ward says, okay, just hold on. And then after waiting for like 20 minutes or so, I'd asked, how long are we waiting on for? And then Ward had said, sorry, give me about 2 more minutes. That is the exact conversation that we had. Word for word.
Yeah, because Ward told me he was helping his father at the time with something.
Yeah, and we gave him the chance to do that.
Yeah.
We didn't drag him from what he was doing, saying you have to come in right now.
Yeah.
We gave him the
Furthermore-
chance to finish what he had to get done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Furthermore, what does me wanting Ward into the courthouse mean that I'm a coward?
Well, if it wasn't meaning this, and if it was supposed to be one-on-one with you and Ward, it should have been one-on-one. Lyle shouldn't have joined the call, other people shouldn't join the call, and dogpile them.
Who dogpiled him?
I'm bringing up, like...
No, I asked a question. Who dogpiled him?
Lyle and Peaches!
That wasn't dogpiling. That was a conversation. Dogpiling would mean that Ward wouldn't get a chance to speak. He was given several chances to speak. He was given several chances to answer many times to answer questions that were directly given to him. And he danced around every fucking question that was given to him. So please, explain to me the dogpiling there.
I was about to say, in fact, I would say that Ward was probably the mouthiest one.
Yeah, he can't answer a proper question with a simple, direct answer. He has to explain the inner workings of Discord's bot system or some shit like that.
Oh.
And that's me being facetious. Fact of the matter is that he wasn't actually willing to answer any direct questions that Susie had for him, or even Lio. And eventually, people got frustrated. All we wanted was a direct answer to direct and simple questions. And he wanted to literally do anything else than answer the question. Does that say anything about, does that say like a truthful and honest person would do something like that? Like not answer direct questions given to them?
No,
Like
it sounds like he's trying to give you the runaround.
Okay, so let me give you a scenario. I just to prove a point here. So say that there's a basket of apples. Okay, somebody steals an apple. I go to you and say, Conundrum, did you take the apple? You didn't. What would your answer be?
Yes, I did. Took the apple.
No. You didn't. You did not take the apple. What would your answer be then to me if I came up to you and said, did you take the apple?
No, I didn't.
Okay. That was a direct answer to a direct question. Okay. So when Ward, and I can't think of any specific questions that was in that video off the top of my head, but on several occasions when Susie would ask a question, he would go into this diatribe of things that meant nothing. He said so many things and nothing at all. When someone's doing that, they are trying to distract you from the question you asked because they are hiding something. That is what that says to me. If you are not willing to say, this happened, if someone asked me, did this happen, I would tell you whether this thing happened or not. Because I would have nothing to hide. You didn't take the apple, so you have nothing to hide. You have no reason to tell me the inner workings of how baskets are weaved the apples were in.
Yeah.
Sonic Ward was not direct. He was not upfront. He wanted to dance around every question given to him. So yeah, Lio got a little mad. And here's another thing that I want to point out, which is something that has been a pattern, is that people tend to not respect Susie in this specific instance, or any AFAB or femme-presenting person. Lio has to get nasty with people, because it is the only way that people will actually answer anything. It is the only way anyone will actually give someone the respect they are deserved. Susie has the patience of a goddamn saint, and it is actually incredible the amount of times that people will use her as a freaking wiping pad. Ward was not taking her in any way seriously because he didn't deem it worthy enough to answer her questions. So Lio had to get a little nasty because it was the only way anything could get done. Initially, Lio wasn't trying to yell, but the more Ward was testing our patience, I say ours, but testing their patience, the kid gloves had to come off at some point. So you can't sit here and say he was dogpiled, because he wasn't. He was not dogpiled, he was put to task. Peaches barely said a word in that whole call in comparison to Susie or Lio. Lio did not dogpile him. He may have pulled the rope a little bit, may have put a little bit of heat on there, put a little bit of friction, but that's because he wasn't giving us what we needed to hear, not what we wanted to hear, what we needed to hear. And what we needed to hear was the truth, and he wasn't giving it to them. So that's not dogpiling.
Okay. Okay.
Next.
Go ahead.
I agree. That's not dogpiling. From the way they were telling me, it was they were being dogpiled.
But you watched the video, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I rewatched
Oh,
it.
you would know.
Hold up. I watched the video first, before that stream. Then I watched it after. Then I'm like, this doesn't make sense. That's not dogpiling.
So
I'm
you
being-
watched the
honest.
video after the stream, is what you're telling us.
I watched it I watched it once before that stream happened. Then after that stream, I rewatched it because during that stream I was hearing inconsistencies on what was being said.
Then why didn't you call it out?
Yeah, you played into a lot of those said inconsistencies that you were noticing.
Yeah. And
Why-
instead of calling them out, I just straight up blocked their asses because I'm
No.
like,
Why didn't you call them out in the stream? Why didn't you take them to task when you were noticing inconsistencies in what they were saying in that moment? That's something you could have easily done.
yes.
So why didn't you?
Maybe it's because I wanted them to dig their own grave.
No. No. I'm not taking that as an answer.
I know.
It's not digging their own grave. If you don't believe, if you have any sense of integrity, if they are saying something that is wrong or there's holes in what they're saying, then you say something. That is what having integrity looks like. You don't just let them dig their own grave. You don't got a wire on you. You're not an undercover cop.
True.
You were egging them on. You were feeding into them. You gave Ward an excuse for why he couldn't do something because he was moving or some shit like that. It was not them digging their own grave would mean you were shutting up and you let them talk. But you enabled them. So don't give me you were letting them dig their own grave. You enabled what they were saying. You made excuses for them. Do not act like I don't know what words mean. Because frankly, I'm getting tired of the wishy-washy statements you're making.
Wishy-washy.
Yes, wishy-washy. Because on one hand, you'll say, I watched the video. I watched these videos, and I watched them twice. That's how intimate I know these things. But then we'll tell you things that happened in the video, and then you act like this is brand new information. So excuse me if I'm not bleeding. 90% of what you're saying to me. And I am not, I cannot for the life of me understand, because I've been in your order of 66 streams. I remember being in those streams long time ago.
Yes.
And I remember that anytime someone had a problem with you on stream live, you would call them out just fine. You had no problem. You had no problem refuting claims that people were making about you in your streams. So what was the problem? If there were so many inconsistencies in what they were saying, why did you egg it on? Why didn't you call out what they were saying?
Why?
Yes, why?
At the time, I wanted to see if they're gonna. I wanted to know more. Rewatch stream. I'm gonna rewatch that stream they did, and when maybe it's because I got literally upset when Lio said I'm a clown.
Where did he say you're a clown?
In the comments of that video.
That's not what I'm asking. Don't start another conversation. I asked you a question. Why did you not call what Ward, Kyokun, and Sean were saying? If there were inconsistencies in what they were saying, if there were holes in their story, why didn't you say something? Why did you let them continue, and why did you enable them? Please give me the sense of respect to answer my question.
I didn't know I was enabling number one. I will admit to that. I was egging them on just so they could slip up some more.
Why can't you just say you actually believed what they were saying?
I did believe what they were saying. Then
So you weren't egging, so you weren't waiting for them to slip up. You believed what they were saying. You weren't waiting for shit. You just believed what they were saying. I don't care if the truth sucks, Patrick. I just want you to tell me what happened. Tell me the truth. Don't give me I was doing an op. I had a wire on me. I was undercover. Don't give me that. Please.
No,
I am not 5. I'm not going to believe something as ridiculous as that.
Well, after that stream, when we talked, me and my group talked about it, and they even told me there's some wrong in what they're saying. They said one thing while they're doing another. Then I started to look at it, and I'm like, oh my God.
But you said there was inconsistencies before after the stream. You said that there were inconsistencies during the stream.
Because when me and my friends rewatched it in our group chat.
No, you're not listening to me. You're just not listening to me. I'm asking while you were live on stream, in the moment of you being in that stream and talking with them live, you believed what they were saying. Just admit it.
I believe what they were saying because they felt like they were kicked out, and they painted the narrative that I believed in. If you get what I'm trying to say, I know it sounds...
So you didn't find inconsistencies. You just believed what they had to say. Yes or no?
Yeah, I believe what they had to say until I watched the stream after with a group of my friends, and they're like, this doesn't make sense. There's inconsistencies in the argument. I watched the video Doodle did, and Sean didn't bring that up in the stream. He was painting more of the narrative that I'm the victim here.
But you said you watched the stream before.
Yeah,
Or sorry, you watched the video before the stream.
yeah. Remember, when you first watch something and get a knee-jerk reaction, sometimes you have to rewatch things, commentaries over and over again.
I don't know what else was needed to see. I don't know Sean very well. I barely know Ward. I didn't really need a second watch through to dig it into my brain that these people shouldn't be in the community. I didn't need to watch it. I mean, you know, if you need to watch something multiple times to really get it, I guess I can understand to a point. But it's not necessarily there was no like, not subliminal thing, but there was no like, I don't know. I'm not quite sure how when you hear from Sean's mouth that he was friends with Dan, not because he stopped being friends with Dan, not because he found out he was a child predator, but because he might have spread lies about innocuous lies, or not innocuous, superfluous lies about Sean. That it was very obvious his priorities weren't straight in any capacity. I don't know how you would need a second watch through on that.
Sometimes I need to have a second watch through for something, basically because sometimes I don't pick it up on the first watch through. Okay, I blame my emotions on that, and it's not an excuse, but I actually have to rewatch something a second time or a third time to fully get it.
Okay.
It's something that I have to do.
Well, we're all right.
Like,
We're spending too much time on this one. What's the next thing?
Well, the next note is about the German heritage thing, if you want to talk about that.
What I was doing was basically a comparative measure of what's next. Anybody who is of German heritage should be outed by the community because they're Nazis.
So you know it's an unrealistic slippery slope then? Cool.
Yeah, it was a unrealistic slippery slope fallacy.
Okay.
I can admit. I'll admit to that.
Okay. So, how is the SCC a bunch of hypocrites? What are we hypocritical about there, Patrick?
You've done a lot of hypocritical things back in the day.
But how are we that way now?
I still see some hypocrisy still left.
I know.
Such as? That's what we are
What is
asking.
it?
Like the Ephraim situation. I will be honest. Ephraim should have been thrown to the wolves as much as Ward and Sean was. Even though it was a joke, that type of behavior.
It wasn't. If you're talking about the joke on Ephraim's part, we did talk to him about it.
Yeah, he
We
should have been
did
asked.
confront him about it.
Yeah.
So,
But also,
we'll try again.
yeah, the thing with Ephraim is way different than the thing with Sean to begin with, because Ephraim, while did cross some boundaries and definitely shouldn't have done that. We're not saying that Ephraim was like innocent or what have you. He didn't put people in danger. Sean did. Ward did. Kyokun might have. I still don't know much about Kyokun stuff. I just, I have other issues with how Kyokun has dealt with the situation. But Sean and Ward absolutely put people in danger.
Yeah.
Ephraim did not. Ephraim's a bit of a different situation. Again, what he did, not right. He definitely shouldn't have done it. He did absolutely get sit down and talked to. And he knows what will happen if he does it again.
Yeah.
But that was that. He didn't put anyone in danger.
There's a
Yeah.
difference between making a very uncouth, that's a nice way I'm going to put it, very uncouth statement, or having a conversation that's not very, I don't know if appropriate's the best way I'm going to put it, but I'm going to say that for a lack of a better term.
Yeah.
It was an isolated incident.
Yeah.
He doesn't have victims. He is not a predator.
Yeah.
When we realized that these claims were untrue, we corrected it. We talked to Ephraim about his behavior. We corrected it. So try again on the whole hypocrisy thing.
All right. What you guys did to Ernie?
What we did to Ernie. Okay, now we're bringing up some shit that, like, I'm not 100% sure what you're even talking about, bud. What did we do to Ernie?
That whole thing with that rap about Ernie, aka Illinois guy, on the tri-op,
Pardon?
making fun of his girlfriend Chirp Rocks at the time.
Pardon?
What?
You know what I'm talking about? That music video that Silver did.
Oh, Silver, someone who's not in the community anymore.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what does that have to do with the people in the community?
What does it have to do with us now?
I feel like if we want to clean up the community, we all have to also unburden ourselves from our own past doings. Not sweep it under the rug.
We're not.
But Silver's not a part of the community anymore.
He left. It's not sweeping under the rug. He just left. There's nothing we can... I mean, first of all, there's really nothing to do about it. It's not like we're saying this never happened. But what are we going to do about somebody who's not around?
My thing is, I feel like Ernie was never given an apology.
Well, that's Silver's apology to give. Not mine.
That is not the SCC's responsibility.
Yeah, it's
not
my apology it's not my apology to give. It's not Ephraim's. It's not Umbrus's. It's Silver's apology to give.
Yeah.
And furthermore, even if it was my apology to give, it's not like Ernie would take it. From my understanding, Ernie's a giant fucking transphobe nowadays.
Oh, that's one of the reasons. Like, even though I didn't like what Ernie did, I hate the fact he's a transphobe. I'm a big supporter of trans rights.
Great, but the fact of the matter is that you're talking about something in the current day.
Yeah.
As it is a SCC problem with two people who are not in the SCC anymore. So try again.
Yeah. I view that we are still hypocrites because we do hypocritical things still to this day.
Okay.
Where?
Every single example you have given us is either null and void or just not true.
So please give us an example where the SCC is hypocritical.
Oh, there's plenty. I can give plenty.
Then please give us an example of modern day SCC being hypocrites. Please.
Okay. Most of the commentaries are done. They all have some form of hypocrisy in them.
Example, please.
Okay. Perfect example right here. The way that Ephraim will say something that contradicts something and give out hypocritical statements about people.
Examples, Patrick!
Oh, what Ephraim did in that shitty do-rags thing, he was a complete and utter hypocrite in that. Even though he disowned it, I still call out his modern-day hypocrisy.
Okay, no, that's fair. I haven't seen that video, so I don't. Okay, I'll believe you that there's hypocrisy in there. I can bring Ephraim to the side and talk with him about Check's notes, a video he made.
Question: Is
sure.
Alex the critic still in the community or no? Just asking.
Apparently Alex never associated with us, which that was actually quite a surprise to me. I thought he did.
Believe me, I thought he did also. It's like, the other thing is, every list you make, like the recent list, you always like to put a dig at me when I apologize to you, and I felt so bad for what I've done to you.
I used you as an example, not as a dig. Now, that said, I do kind of look back on how I treated your video, and I feel like I actually probably should have been rougher about it. To be honest.
And I'll be honest, yeah, and I apologize to Dan Mad, and actually help him out.
But I use you as an example. And in fact, the last time last year's list, I was going to use you as an example of how Veritas's video on Much Cry was bad, because they do share very similar problems. In that Veritas was going to use a private, I guess, relationship, not like a romantic or sexual one, but like just them, I guess, being classmates, as leverage to be rude or otherwise, frankly, intolerable of Much Cry's video, much like how you did with Dan Mad back in the day. I mean, yeah, you might not stand behind it, but it still happened, and it's still an example of someone using a private friendship or relationship, or knowing someone in private as leverage to be awful to them.
Yeah. And I was not at my best time during that, and I hate myself for doing that. And when you bring it up, it's sort of like, in my eyes, it's basically, you're bringing up a time when I was in a bad spot, personally.
Well, I don't, it's not like I'm bringing it up to hold you to it. If somebody had asked me about your video, I would say that I know that you don't stand by it.
Oh, thank you.
But it did still happen, and it is a pretty good example of someone doing that.
Yeah, but you could also, I felt like you could say, like, I don't stand by it anymore, and I hate myself for doing it, which I do.
I mean, I guess. I mean, I didn't even necessarily bring up, like, I only brought your video up in passing anyway, like, in the most recent list.
Yeah.
And I can't think of, and I mean, any other time I've ever brought you up in those videos, it's to talk about videos that I thought were probably amongst the worst that I have seen, in which, again, in hindsight, I do feel like your video was worse than Kyokun's. But that's hindsight speaking. And I know you don't.
I'm gonna be, Susie, I'm gonna be honest. That whole video was utter dog shit.
That's fair. But that's what I'm saying. It's just a matter of, like, yeah, I know you don't stand behind it anymore, and if somebody was to ask me about it, I would probably say that. It's just a matter of, it did happen. It is it is, like, acknowledging the past and acknowledging that it did happen. So, again, I don't really see how that's necessarily hypocritical. Like, if somebody wanted to, say, acknowledge the fact that my jar video happened, but also acknowledge that, I don't stand by it anymore, that's one thing. Because it did happen. Jar and I did have a beef at one point.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't stand by a lot of things I used to say about you, Susie.
And, I mean, it's fair enough.
Yeah, especially with what turns your motor on, in a sense, because that's not my point to judge. And I'm trying to think, I'm trying to say it in a more PG type of saying.
I get what you're trying to put down.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's again not really an instance of hypocrisy on my end. So.
Like, I will have to take back what I said on that, because I could see it on that. You aren't hypocrites. I was using, because I base a lot of it. I thought Alex the Critic was still in the community, and that guy is a hypocritical asshole.
Oh no, I don't like Alex the Critic either.
Yeah.
I cannot wait for someone to put him in his place. But that's not, that's not for me to decide or for me to really do anything with, because I know he's not going to listen to me.
Okay, so I will retract the hypocrisy statement, because now I know that Alex is not in the community.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. That actually is about all that we have to talk about with you from my notes. There's a lot more to talk about with Sean, Kyo, and Ward. But
Like,
I wanted to focus on the stuff that you had said, because, yeah, you might not have agreed with everything.
yeah.
Do you understand why we brought you here today? Do you
Because
understand where you went wrong?
Sorry for disrespecting that, Ellie.
Well, do you understand where you went wrong?
Yes, I believe one side of the story and not getting the other side fully and completely.
You know, you talk about your health, and I don't want you to have deteriorating health. I don't want you to go through this kind of stress. I don't want anyone to do that. But
Yeah.
you kind of bring this to, like, this conversation. This conversation would not have happened if you didn't butt in. Something had nothing to do with you.
Yeah, and I don't want to leave the community, because I love this community and I do a lot. I do a lot for people. I help them a lot. Like, a lot of my friends in my community also who are trans, I support them.
Okay.
I defended my friend who...
Listen real quick. I love that you support trans people. Amazing, great. Okay. I love this community as well. I'm not even in this community. I left the community due to a situation that everyone already knows about. That doesn't mean I don't love the people in it. I love the SCC. I just can't be in it.
Yeah, I know.
You talked about in our DMs that you just want to be left alone, and you wanted to not be in a conversation. This would not have happened if you did not come in half-cocked and sitting here making very baseless accusations about people, and then turn around and say, oh, I can't stand false accusations. You knew nothing about what was actually happening. You said you only watched the video once, and you need to watch something a couple times to really understand it, but you didn't take the time to watch the video a couple times to take the time to understand it.
Yeah.
You did this stuff for what? It doesn't... This was senseless. Absolutely senseless, Patrick.
And I feel like that they used me as a...
No. No one used you. You made a choice.
Yeah, I made a choice.
Decision.
Yeah.
And you ran with it. No one made you go onto that stream. No one made you say the things that you said. Do not say that these people made you or manipulated you into doing that. You made a decision by your own admission, because of your own emotions. Because you got very emotional during some of the things that were talked about and said in Susie's video.
Yeah, I'm not.
Please take onus of what you did. Stop
I
putting
do.
it on other people.
I do take blame for it. I'm
No,
saying.
you don't. No, you
Cause you,
don't. Because you're trying to say that they manipulated you. They dragged you into that. No, they didn't. Take onus for the part you played.
I do. I let my emotions get the better of me all the time. Because I try to wear my heart on the sleeve, and I wear it for the wrong people.
Patrick, you went on stream. You chose to go onto a stream and said some pretty bad shit.
I know.
You chose to do it. You in your head said, I'm going to do this. You made a decision to go on that stream and say the things that you said. And when I confronted you, if you are able to say things around people that agree with you, you should be just as willing to say it around people that don't. And if you're wrong, or if you are given a new perspective, you either accept that or you don't. That's not my choice. I can't do that for you. But the fact of the matter is that just about everything that's been brought up today, you have been either objectively wrong, completely misinformed, or both. You want to take care of your health, but you actively put yourself in a situation where you would be caused more stress.
Yeah, and bad enough I already had a silent heart attack.
So then why are you getting into these situations? You know, I actually, no, it's not even a why. You need to stay out of things that don't involve you.
Yeah.
If you care about your health, which I know you do, everyone should care about their health in one way or another. I would like to hope that you are one of those people.
Oh, yeah, but believe me, Maddie, I had to change my diet.
Then you need to butt out. If you don't know about something and you want to know, ask someone. Don't just go on a live stream and pretend like you've got it all figured out when you obviously don't. You came in, made baseless accusations, and then when I confronted you, because everyone in that call wanted to claim that, oh, the SEC doesn't talk to people, I know one of those people ducked when being confronted, so that's a fucking lie. When it's talking about talking with people and having a discussion, I came up to you to have a discussion, and you immediately shot me down. And I understand for the reasons you gave me, and I was willing to give you that time, and I did.
I never said that you.
I know. I'm just putting it on the record. On the record.
And that's why I always have respect for you.
But the fact of the matter is that you can't sit on that stream and say what you said, and then when I've got a problem with it and I confront you about it, like an adult, you don't then get to shut me out and say, well, I just want to be left alone. You don't get to have that when you put yourself in that situation. You put yourself in that situation. You did that. Not me, not Susie, not Ward, not Sean, not Kyokun, not Jesus himself.
I know. Believe me, nobody put a gun to my head.
So don't say that anyone manipulated you. Don't say anyone dragged you into this. Say what actually happened. Take actual responsibility for your own actions. You came into this when it didn't involve you. And now we are having this discussion. Do you understand why you need to butt out of things that do not concern you?
Yes.
Are we going to have this discussion again?
No, because
I really hope not. Because
Yeah.
the next time, I'm not going to be playing by your rules. I will be bringing Lio into this conversation. Lio asked me several times if he wanted to be in this, if I wanted him to be in this conversation. But I gave you the respect you wanted, and I gave you a compromise that Lio was not going to be here because I wanted a conversation to happen at all. And if that meant Lio wasn't going to be here, that is something I was willing to do. But the next time, and I hope there will not be a next time, the next time you don't mind the business that pays you, I'm not going to care about what you feel. I'm not going to care about what you want. And it's not going to be pretty. I am not the person you used to know back in 2018. I have grown quite a lot. And I refuse to be played like a fiddle. Do we have a incredibly clear understanding of each other?
Yes, we do.
So I hope that if you are curious or if you are concerned about something that it's involved in the SCC, you talk to the other side that you are currently not sure about. You don't go on a live stream, you don't go on a Twitter post, you don't go on a Google Plus forum and try to say things that don't exist or aren't true. You will confront people to their faces like an adult, I hope.
Yes.
And you will not go out there and make an ass of yourself. Because frankly, I did not want to have this conversation with you, Patrick. I did not want to talk to you once I heard the Nekokota statement come out of your mouth. I wanted to never look you in the eye again. But I know that I needed to do this because I promised I was going to do it. Because I keep my promises. And I hope that you can promise to not pull this stunt again and keep your promise. Is that something you are willing to do?
Yes.
I want you to say it then.
I will not get involved in things that I don't fully know about. Will not make a total ass of myself. And if I ever do it again, Ellie Momeli and Susie as witnesses, we will have another call and Lio will be brought in.
Susie, do you have anything else to say?
Nah, I think you've basically wrapped everything up.
I hope we never have to talk like this again.
Yeah.
Have a good rest of your day. I have been up for a very long time, and I don't know when I'm going to sleep.
All right.
So I will talk to you, hopefully on better circumstances. I don't know. Good day. Goodbye, please, and thank you.
All right. Susie, I apologize. I made a total doofus of myself. I can't fathom that I went on a live stream and made a complete ass of myself.
Well,
I really hate I really hate myself sometimes. Because I used to be on point with a lot of things. Now it's just I don't know what's going on, personally. I feel like I've done a lot of wrongs in this community. I hurt your feelings so many times. I always thought I was better than anyone. But in reality, I'm not. I always had respect for you, Susie. And I will have respect for you. I'm glad that you're doing better.
Well, again, hopefully we won't have to have this conversation again.
Yeah.
Take care, Patrick.
You too, Susie.
You heard where he gave his word that he'd stay out of stuff? And that he'd get in call with me if he violated that? Well, that didn't last long. See, Ephraim was looking at a response to him that zoo porn enthusiast Gilded Poo made on him and saw Conundrum here trying to give the freak ammo against Ephraim. This was brought to Susie's attention as an irritation by Ephraim, who didn't know that Susie and Conundrum had an agreement. So, Susie called Conundrum on it, and Conundrum completely wussed out, even wanting to bring Call Me Nil in to help defend himself. Yes, people, Conundrum, this 40-year-old grown man, wanted to use a person with brain damage as a shield. To keep score, this means Conundrum is a bigger wuss than Keyblade. Let that sink in for a minute. Obviously, that's not going to pass mustard, so he is promptly told that the previous call was going to be made public. Now, he has no idea it went live on my channel, so I'm sure that'll be a fun surprise for him. He cited something else as an excuse to not get in call with me, and that would be the final call I had with Rosa Ray Ramsey. This is a call that happened over a year ago, and is only being brought up now because of freaks and dishonest actors, one of which just admitted that they did so for money. So here's the long and short of it, and it was addressed in full last year. The way that call devolved and the ableist, awful things I said and allowed was not okay. It was not acceptable. It was wrong, and I apologize for that. I was in control of that room and that call at the time, so the responsibility is mine. The day after that call, Rosa was sent direct apologies, and the entire way we run calls was completely restructured. Such as the fact that the audience has no ability of their own to jump into a call, and any mockery of people over things they can't control are condemned and punished. Their purpose is to be as productive as possible. Longtime listeners will notice that the unpleasant language I used to have to censor out no longer exists in the past year's videos. That's because I worked to remove it from my lexicon. It takes time, as anything you've been doing for 3 decades may, but they're not words I've been using any further. Ponder herself called out that behavior directly in that call. She's still in Senate. There's a reason for that. Because change can happen. And has. The problem here, though, is that the people aren't interested in accountability. Not only because that was already taken care of a year ago, but also because they overlooked the fact that Rosa enabled a predator, and these people willfully overlook how that predator's victim, Indo, was affected not only by the lack of action, but even today by the willful weaponizing of this call. That's because the people just don't actually care, to the point that they're lying about Rosa's mod position in that server. Yes, she was a mod. Yes, she fully knew what happened. Not that it excuses how we acted, but lying about things isn't helping. I'll be transparent with my audience because I owe them that, but I won't be preached morality to by dishonest snakes that force kids to write their trauma, abuse their partner, or are zoo and pedo apologists. That isn't going to happen. I'll give you a good example of the dishonest nature of these creeps. This is Cato, a new obsessor that's been attempting to hound me on socials because ableist language isn't okay. You know what, Cato? I agree. So I'd love to know why you care if I said something like that a year ago, but actively conspire in another server that regularly uses that word in front of you with no protest. They're not the only freak in this server, though. This server is owned by someone named In-Law, a person that initially came on the scene because they got upsetty spaghetti that Peaches called out the gross actions of Nyx and Jackie in the Glitchtail chats. Truly the best of priorities. Her server has such hits as Carve My Name Into Your Thigh, Girl, and Fox Mafia associate Kumo, zoo porn enthusiast Gilded Poo, former Fox Mafia member North, and hanging out in Kumo's server with In-Law is the latest false accusation supreme himself, Akumu. We'll get into him later. You know who else is in In-Law's server? Conundrum. Nice company he keeps. What, did you think we wouldn't know? One of the longtime members of that server came to us the moment these freaks started joining to tell us what's going on. These people care so little about victims of predation that they'll release a call some fool gave them that he had no permission to do, completely disregarding the victim's wishes. Because they care so very much about what's right. Now, let me address the Akumu comment. I'm not going to deny that Akumu was done wrong in the past by ArtCC people. If he wants to address that, he can. Specifically some comments made to him by Miss Zizi. However, I draw the line at lying. There's a reason he's not going to release the FCK logs until after the video drops. It gives him control of the narrative. We, however, had a longtime server member give us access to the logs that Akumu will not release. Logs I asked him for months ago, by the way, that he refused to give. Not only to me, but to other adults who asked. Now, I know some of my audience are minors, which is why I'm not going to release the logs here because there's porn in there. He's going to try to use cherry-picked examples to try to frame it as Peaches being okay with degeneracy being shown to kids. So here's the most troublesome stuff that happened in there concerning Peaches. Here we have Peaches making a joke about the KKK. This is not a joke specifically making fun of a race, just a throwaway joke about the group itself. Literally just milquetoast dark humor. It's also of note that this was 4 years ago. All of this was. Here we see Peaches responding to Fuchsia Butters and Miss ZZ spamming porn in the server, wherein Peaches made a joke about it. Now, there's some context here that needs to be highlighted, and that's the fact that Peaches was groomed for 7 years. Even at the time this all happened, they were still being manipulated by said groomer. So even if Peaches was 100% aware that there were kids in the server, which personally I doubt, this is something Peaches had normalized by their groomer. Peaches didn't even know any of what that creep was doing was suspicious until Cosmodor got called out later that year. That being said, this isn't something they've repeated and have also disavowed. I think I've made it clear that I'm always going to keep nuance in mind when dealing with stuff like this. If it was Peaches sending porn to children, or speaking to them sexually like Nix and Jackie, we'd be having a different conversation. But that's not what happened. And also of note that people like Akumu surrounds himself are constantly trying to deny that Peaches was groomed. Not only is this gross and reprehensible, but it's also just an outright lie. I've seen the logs. Here are some now. Here's one where her groomer talks about how not a pedo he is and how he has to word himself in a certain way because Big Brother is watching, along with noting the clear age gap. I'm not going to show the rest. I don't need to. I think I've made my point. What I find interesting though is no one looked into Fuchsia Butters until all of this came out. The third party to scan through these logs literally just hopped into her server and find all sorts of garbage in under 5 minutes, which is a problem since there's minors in that server and no regulation about what's posted around them by Fuchsia herself. This is because Akumu is more interested in smearing someone than properly dealing with actual guilty parties. Toasty Vanilla was the person in charge of that server and gave no rules or safeguards to protect children in that server. I'd love to see accountability directed towards him, please. And Fuchsia? You and I are going to need to have a conversation. You'll know where to find me. But a single example may not be enough to convince people of Akumu's smearing attempts being an obvious ploy. So here's another one. Akumu has been regularly spreading an RP Susie did when they were a couple of months past 18. An RP Susie herself did not make sexual, but the other party did. In doing her research to properly address this yet again, Susie delved into her old logs and found out she had been groomed. I was there. I saw how she responded to it in real time. It's an awful thing to discover, but it explains some of her more troublesome thought processes and interests for several years. Akumu's response to that level of honesty is to claim she's using her being groomed as a shield and that she's just trying to paint anyone that questions her as a victim blamer. If you sat through that whole video and came to that conclusion, you're just a dishonest moron. Now, there are things that will probably need to be addressed as well at a later date. For now, though, I have other things I need to do. I'm not obligated to defend myself at the behest of others. I will do so when I please. And as such, I've got work to do. Thank you all for your time and watching this very long video. Please give Susie your support and let me know what you think about the model. If you like my content, feel free to join the channel members or support me on Patreon. You're also welcome to join the server. That's it for now. Take care.